Well, hello, everybody. Before we begin episode 142, let's talk about the brands that are helping make this episode possible. If you haven't heard of the Dollar Shave Club, and you haven't heard that they have great razors, let me be the first to welcome you into the club. Stop buying expensive razors out of habit and start thinking about joining Dollar Shave Club today. Right now, you can try out Dollar Shave Club's Ultimate Shave Starter Set for a one-time trial offer for only $5 plus free shipping. After that, you can continue to get an unimaginably smooth shave as razor refills ship at regular prices right to your door, as often as you want. Dollar Shave Club's Ultimate Shaver Starter Set comes with a 6-blade razor with a trimmer edge, 2 refill cartridges, and 1-ounce tubes of prep scrub, shave butter, and post-shave dew. I know what it sounds like. Dollar Shave Club, right? Like, there's no way that you're going to get a quality shave. I thought, personally, exactly the same thing. And then, guess what they sent me? That's right, the Ultimate Shave Starter Set. And what did I find? A ridiculously high-quality razor blades that gave me probably one of the closest shaves I've ever had, and I really liked the pre, during, and post products. Do not let the price fool you. It is not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. Myself, I like the shave butter. It's a translucent shave aid that softens the whiskers, helps fight razor bumps, and leaves your skin feeling unimaginably smooth. I am not joking. The shave I got from these razors was as good, if not better, than anything else I've ever shaved with. So ditch your overpriced razor and join the club today with Dollar Shave Club's Ultimate Shave Starter Set for only $5. It has everything you need for an amazing shave. Like I said, 6-blade razor, shave butter, prep scrub, post-shave dew, all the things you're going to need. All shipped right to wherever you call home nowadays. And after that first box, razor refills will ship at a regular prices on the schedule that you want. Try the Ultimate Shave Starter Set today for just $5 plus free shipping at dollarshaveclub.com/clearedhut. Dollar Shave Club, all spelled normally, .com/clearedhut. Welcome to the damn club, people. Enjoy. You won't regret it. This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by HelloFresh, which is America's #1 meal kit that lets you cook, eat, and enjoy. Go to HelloFresh.com/80clearedhot and use the code 80clearedhot to get a total of $80 off, including free shipping on your first box. The last meal that I had from this kit, cherry balsamic pork chops. What? That's exactly what I said. And it came with green beans, thyme roasted potatoes. Let's get out of town. It was lights out delicious. HelloFresh allows you to save time and eat more sustainably. And in the modern era, HelloFresh offers contactless delivery to your doorstep for easy home cooking with the family. HelloFresh is flexible and will fit your lifestyle. Feeding the whole family has never been easier with larger box sizes and more servings and more savings. Very flexible. HelloFresh makes deliciousness part of your every week. They offer so many recipes to choose from each week to help you break out of your recipe rut. And there's something for everybody, including low-calorie, vegetarian, and family-friendly recipes every week. HelloFresh is also committed to giving back. HelloFresh donated over 2.5 million meals to charity in 2019. And this year, they are stepping up their food donations amid the coronavirus crisis. Go to HelloFresh.com/80clearedhot and use the code 80clearedhot to get a total of $80 off, including free shipping on your first box. Additional restrictions apply. Please visit HelloFresh.com for more details. And lastly, on the business side of the house, my longest running sponsor. That's right, Onnit. Head to onnit.com/hot. Your landing zone, your landing pad, your landing runway. I don't know the right word for total human optimization. You will know you're in the right spot because you're going to see the podcast logo. And right underneath that, it will say receive up to 10% off when you check out. And across the top is where you can go to town on your own personal research, supplements, nutrition, fitness, apparel, sale, and content. If you like the written word, they have it. Spoken word, they got it. Video, not a problem. Supplementation, just hover over supplements and take a look at everything from Alpha Brain to New Mood to Total Gut Health. Stuff for performance, essential nutrients, immune system, and then there's a goal-based collection, whether it's keto, muscle, mood, and sleep. And then hover over on the nutrition side of the house. You can get your fats and oils, your snacking. Spend a little bit of time in that category. Power foods, protein, everything you could possibly want. And on this main landing page, which you're going to find, some of the main products that I use. Onnit.com/hot if you're interested in your total human optimization. And boom, that's it. We're through the business side of the house. My guest today is longtime friend John Barklow. I say longtime friend, but we spent probably 15 years not communicating with each other, not by choice or intent, but because we were just on different sides. Well, we weren't, I was going to say of the world, but we really weren't. We were just geographically separated. So John is the big game product manager for Sitka, which is the brand of camouflage that I wear when I go hunting. Just so you guys know, I don't have an official relationship with Sitka. I just love John, and I love the product that they make. They're actually based in Bozeman, which is another plus in their category for me. Prior to his position there, though, John served for 26 years in the United States Navy as a diver. Most of that time attached to and working with the special operations community. And if you're curious more about that, go back to episode 35. That was his initial intro to the podcast. Spent a lot of that time working up in Kodiak, teaching cold weather training to all of the SEAL candidates in their initial pipeline to the community. He's an avid bowhunter, an outdoorsman, skier. I'm not going to hold that against him because obviously he should be snowboarding, but a wealth of knowledge. Rock climber. It's ridiculous, actually. He's a renaissance man of outdoor skills. And here he is again. Hope you enjoy episode 142 with the man himself, John Barklow.
Okay, got the red smoke. Gun run, north and south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke. Okay, copy, west of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now. Come on with it, baby, give it to me, I need it. You're cleared hot. Copy, cleared hot.
Where should we begin? Is your phone off? Let's start with...
Yeah, the phone's off.
All right, good. It doesn't have to be off, but let's put it on...
It's airplane mode.
Airplane mode.
Yeah.
Since we might as well start with your social media presence and prowess, I would describe it as. Less than a year ago, though, let's lay the scene here. Less than a year ago, me and Nelson were at your house. Hypothetically, his name's Nelson. Could be a made-up character. We're at your house. Your
months ago.
Yeah, your social media presence at that time was one picture on Instagram that you would rotate through, generally involving
a cat.
A cat.
Me and a cat.
Because you are the cat man.
I am.
And now you have a booming social media presence. You're doing videos. You're actually uploading content. Do tell. What happened?
Yeah.
Also, talking to the microphone.
COVID happened.
You can swing it in front of you. Look
Yeah.
at this. You can do whatever you want to do.
No, COVID happened. So
we linked up before COVID, though, right?
Well, so let me. That would be missing out on a lot. I hang around with people like yourself and Dudley and
Dudley's
Rogan
a
and
social
some people like
media
that, right?
rock star.
Yeah. So obviously I've watched you guys, and because I would have no interaction with anybody, if I weren't around you guys. So, but anyways, I've seen it. So COVID happened. I had a little more time on my hands. I'm working from home, and I won't go into all the gory details, but a series of events were unfolding on social media that irritating me, I guess.
So your account before that, you had it so you could watch other people's social media.
I got an Instagram account in 2015 purely for the work I do at Sitka. So I could follow other people, I could vet other people, I could see what was going on in the industry, how social interaction was happening, and a campaign from somebody or a product, the comments. It was purely for work. Like, I had never any intention of ever doing anything, and so literally for years I made fun of Instagram. And Not saying I still don't make fun of Instagram. And so that was the cat picture. And then, it was like, okay.
Which became a mug, a custom Yeti mug.
Well, yeah, because
which became a Christmas gift, which became an archery release.
So like John, he sent me a sweater at Christmas. He's like, bro, you have to put this on and take a picture with your cat for your second picture. And I didn't want to do it. But I'd gotten back from Asia from a trip and I was jet lagged and it was post-Christmas. And I'm like, well, fuck. I mean, he did spend, I think the price tag was still on $13.95 on the sweater or whatever. Probably could have picked one up in Asia for $2. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. And so I was day drinking, and I picked up my drink, I picked up my cat, and I put a picture. Well, I was posting the picture. I don't know what I did, but I deleted the first picture by mistake. And then it occurred to me that this was going to be my thing. There would only ever be one picture on Instagram.
Yep.
And so I did a couple more, and then what's on there right now is that my first picture was this custom mug they did for my 50th birthday, Yeti. Some guys at Yeti did. So anyways, I'm going down rabbit holes already. But anyways, a series of events happened. I was irritated. I came home and I'm like, listen, it's just ridiculous. Like, there's no reason to be irritated by anything. If you can do something about it, that's a choice, or you can just not be irritated by it. I didn't know fuck all about actually how to post a picture. Like I said, I even deleted one by mistake. So now I'm 3 months down this journey, and I could do a blooper reel of just like me sitting there just teeing off on myself, swearing fucking tirades. Like,
I think that's what Instagram is actually for.
I made a video. So here's how dumb I am. I eventually got IGTV because I only thought, I was like, man, I'm only like 90 seconds is all I can do for a video. And so I did a couple of those, like in the backcountry skiing. And then I'm like, oh, IGTV. Okay, I got it. I'd seen this before. So I got that. I did 1 or 2 videos, but I did not understand that there was a 15-minute, apparently, time limit for an IGTV video. And I did one, man, and I was rolling. It was gold. Like, it was, whatever the hell I was talking about was just fucking gold. And it was 15 minutes and 3 seconds.
It wouldn't even let you upload the first 15 minutes?
Wouldn't even let me upload.
Oh.
And I was...
You know you can trim a video, right?
I didn't at the time. I did not know that at the time. So, dude, I'm talking like you couldn't make, like a 12-year-old couldn't make the mistakes I made. So, but here's the great part about it.
You have to post those videos of you just railing on yourself.
Here's the best part about it, man. I'm learning something new.
Yeah.
Which is super cool, right? So I'm talking about something that I'm very intimately familiar with and understand, but the platform that I have to use to get that out, I don't know anything about. And so that learning journey for me is really interesting. And it, just like I asked you before we started this, I said, did you ever see yourself doing a podcast, sitting in a studio?
No.
I never saw myself, because the guys at work now, in the marketing department, they make fun of me. They're like, bro, you're a content producer. And I said, fuck you, I am. I will never put that moniker on me. But it's true, I am. I know that. But
I think of you more as an influencer and a thought leader. That's what I was
see, I don't see myself as either of those, and you're probably joking about the thought leader, but I certainly don't even see myself as an influencer. I mean, I don't even know what that means.
Give it time. Nobody knows what it means.
Okay.
It means you can get people to pay you to post shit.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy doing it, and I enjoy the... listen, I'm so new to this, I haven't even had somebody like troll me yet and give me a hard time, and that'll come too,
really?
Guaranteed. No, not yet. And I don't know why. I don't know if I speak with like such authority that nobody's willing to like question me on it, or I just don't have a broad enough audience yet where the assholes have kind of tuned in.
And give it time for more content. The more content you put up, the odds of the asshole peeking out of the woodwork it's going to be coming out.
Well, so I have something I'm going to talk about. I don't know when, but within the next, say, 2 months, there'll be a video I do, and I've got the perfect shirt for it. So, Mark sells a shirt and it just says twitching on it. So I'm going to wear that shirt. I was not
aware of that, but that sounds amazing.
Oh, yeah, that's why I had to buy it. But I'm saving it. So I'm going to wear that shirt, and I'm going to do this video. And if that doesn't elicit some kind of, not negative response, but some conversation, then I would be surprised. Because I'm going to challenge. So the thought leader, in some regard, like I'm challenging people to think of things differently. I'm challenging them to think outside the box and look outside the norm, because at least what I'm talking about, which obviously we can get to, but specifically like how to live and survive in the backcountry, right? Either on a ski tour, a hunting trip, or like, I used to train guys in the military. But I've got so much experience and seen so much that I don't see the 20 and 30-year-olds in the industry, in the hunting industry specifically, like wanting to challenge me on some of that. I hope they do, because I think it would just be a great conversation. But I'm going to start to get to the point where there's some opinion. So right now I'm stating fact. But when I start
Which is
talking
probably
about
why
opinion,
people are absorbing what you're saying and, and not arguing. Yeah.
Yep. And I'm trying to walk right down the middle right now, because I want people to pay attention. Like I truly, the one thing I miss or have missed until recently is teaching. And I couldn't be a high school teacher. That's not my shtick, but I enjoy educating or teaching.
Yeah.
And so I've enjoyed that. But at a certain point, I have to flex my left and right flanks a little bit, and I think that's when the conversation will start. But
I think that platform is a good one. You can teach if you want to, whether or not people are receptive to the message. I mean, you can't control that. But when you get to the opinion versus fact phase, people might start coming a touch out of the woodwork. My recommendation is, don't take the negative commentary any more seriously than you would take the positive commentary, because I see people doing that often. They'll have, actually, I'm a victim of it sometimes too. You'll put something up, and most of the time when I put something up, it's because I want to do it for my own reasons, and 99% of the comments will be positive, and you see one negative, and that one consumes your energy.
Yeah.
First off, you probably shouldn't consume any of your energy on comments on online stuff, but it does for all of us to a degree. And then you're spending your time responding to the one negative comment as opposed to taking on board the 99 positive ones. So
I've heard you guys talk about this, on different podcasts, and Joe says he doesn't even look at it, right?
Joe's lying.
But I
Joe
don't
looks
know,
at it a little bit.
I guess my question is, like, you don't want to seem like you want that interaction, I'm assuming, with your people, but they ask questions, you need to respond to that. At the same time, so you have to review a comment. And so at some point somebody will say something negative, but
just be clear that it's your opinion. And I think
I think
where people get in trouble,
to do that.
People get in trouble by saying this is the way that it is, and they don't clarify or open with, I am saying this based off my experience, and this is how I feel, and this counts only for me.
Yeah.
I try to do that every time I'm asked about the military. I'm like, listen, here's the experience that I had. It is true for me and me alone. I don't know what anybody else's is.
And we know, even if you're like, you and I were at the same command for a while, right? Different jobs, but we had completely different experiences. You could even be in the same unit at a command and still have different experiences depending on. So the thing I'm trying to do right now is, because I do have so much experience, is I'm not even really telling people what I do. I'm telling people what I know works, tried and true, and where they should start. I don't, if people do what I do and I've got 30 years of experience and you're just starting, that's probably not the best place to start. I can help you with that learning curve.
Yeah.
I can help you start at a higher rung on the ladder. But I'll start talking about, I don't want to use the term yet, because it's a cool one I got from Mark. But I'll start talking about nutrition, hydration, and some of that will be opinion based. And correct. This morning you ate breakfast, I didn't. So that shit's going to be all over the board. And I can only give my opinions.
You will get some feedback for sure.
I hope I do.
Well,
And but I want to challenge people to think differently.
Which I completely support that. Whether you believe or have the same thought process as the person challenging you, I think it is the fact that you are challenged that's important. And with dietary stuff, oh man, if you want to wade into the deep water, have fun with that. Because it's a broad prescription, and in my experience, the broader the prescription, the less precise. Because what works for you, like I tried intermittent fasting, it's great, and I found it to be great. Like my mental acuity was awesome, but my physical performance would decline at a certain point.
Well, especially if you're rolling for 2 hours a day.
And so picking up jiu-jitsu, I would go into it fasted, where an hour class and an hour open mat wasn't going my way, wasn't feeling awesome. So that didn't work for me, and I'm sure somebody will say, "Whoa, dude!" And that's it. And I'm sure it works for some people, but those prescriptions have to be individual.
Yep.
But you can start with the broad pool. I looked at a ton of stuff, and I also enjoy eating. So
but you just said it. You tried intermittent fasting. If you hadn't tried it and you had a commentary and said, "Fuck, that doesn't work," or "I don't like that," and you hadn't tried it, then you're really not speaking from any kind of authority or knowledge.
No, you're just
but now
an
you're like,
asshole.
listen, I tried it. It worked. But
Yeah.
when I started this part of my life, it doesn't work as much. All right, perfect.
If you say to somebody intermittent fasting doesn't work and you actually haven't tried it, you're just an asshole.
Exactly.
Which the platform for the most asshole comments would be YouTube. If you want to go there, look for the commentary.
I just asked you where you even go to watch a podcast. That's how fucking clueless I am. But which apparently is YouTube. But
Or I think Vimeo. But it's
Yeah.
it's the content creator chooses where they upload it.
oh, gotcha.
So YouTube would be the most common, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's where I upload mine.
Do you find that are more people watching podcasts now than just say like listening to them while you're riding in the car?
You know, the metrics are an interesting subject because, one, people are very close hold with their numbers. And I don't know of a good actual fact-based breakdown that says X number of people watch versus watch and listen. Most people that I know who watch on YouTube will be at work or they have it on a TV and it's actually still background noise. So they're actually just listening to it.
Gotcha.
But if they hear something that's interesting, they'll watch to see the interaction back and forth. But I don't know the percentage of people that do that. I believe it's about an 80-20. Those are the numbers that I've heard. I've also heard 90-10. 90 being listen only.
Yeah.
10% being they consume it down on a YouTube medium. If you base it on the downloads, I would say it's about a fifth of the total downloads. But I don't know, man. Once
Yeah.
you hit upload, who fucking knows?
Yeah.
It's
and we're in
often-
a weird time now where people are at home, so maybe more
Need
people
more
tend
content?
to watch. Yeah.
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 I actually myself don't think I've ever watched a podcast either.
So I hadn't,
Yeah. But I also I'm usually listening to podcasts when I'm either driving.
Yeah.
So watching it would be considered unsafe, even though I'm sure there's some people out there with like an iPad, dash-mounted iPad, or like yard work or stuff like that. So I'm usually active. I'm not sitting in one place, and I also don't have a 9-to-5 desk job either. But if I did, like I went to, Infinity Ward. I took my sons there. Almost everybody in their office, and they had these crazy suites of like all these computers. JRE was playing on at least one of the screens in almost
shit.
every
Wow.
computer terminal. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Huh.
And that's where I get the assumption that they're watching it or listening to it in the background.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't know how interesting it is to watch two people talk to each other face to face for 3 hours. But like you said, if there's an interaction or maybe a certain guest or
But that's the next step for you. Once you're done with Instagram, you're going to do the JB, John Barklow YouTube channel. JB and C, John Barklow and Kat YouTube
I like
channel.
being out of my comfort zone, but that would really be out of my comfort zone right now.
Well, who knows? I never thought I'd be.
I know.
Have a studio and sit here with multiple cameras and actual like a table. I was, the last time I was at your house rolling around with a portable Pelican case, which I still have, and basically NFL announcer football, headsets going to town.
I just never thought that anybody really gave a shit what I had to say about anything. But like I said, some things changed, but the response has been good. I mean, obviously you guys, you and our group of friends, like I had 3,000 people that followed me with one cat picture.
Yeah.
Right. So
you're an intriguing man of mystery on Instagram.
That'll tell you right there. But it's grown pretty well.
I think it will continue to grow, especially if you stay true to stuff that you really enjoy. Like when I watch your videos.
Well, that's what I have to do.
Well, I can watch your videos, and the last one I watched, you were talking about the stoves, and you had all those stoves laid out. And first off, I was laughing because I was in my head, I'm like, I bet that's about a fifth of what he actually owns.
Oh, fuck, man. Right behind the camera was like a shit show of stoves,
And I'm the same way with outdoor gear. Like, one set of rain gear is amazing, but I need 5.
Yeah.
One stove is great, but I need a secondary and a tertiary to the secondary, and the tertiary needs a secondary as well. So I don't even know what number we're at, 5 or 6 at this point. But you whipped all those things out, and how many times have you tried to start a stove and it's too windy, right? Or you needed a white gas stove, but all you have was a canister stove, and you're just sitting there, fuck my life.
Yep.
And that's why you have 30 stoves.
Yeah. But, you got to start somewhere. But
that's where that knowledge comes from, is you. And that, I think, is the value of, Like Instagram is pretty ridiculous. All of social media is pretty ridiculous. We're sitting there and spending hours of our day like, hey, what is somebody else doing? It's kind of a bizarre concept.
Yeah,
instead of living your own life. But if you could help somebody who was going to do a high alpine hunting trip and they were going to take a stove that wasn't going to work, and in your 30 years of being fucking starving and cold because you couldn't get a stove to work, and you can shorten that experience gap for them, that I think is what the amazing tool can be used for. That and connectivity, but I think there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah, and I try not to come off. I mean, I do know what I'm talking about, but I've made every fucking mistake you can make.
Well, and that's how you know what you're talking about.
Probably several times and seen thousands of people do the same thing.
That's why you can speak from a position of authority.
I think I'm going to get to a point really quick, if I'm not already there, that I have to figure out the median that I want to use. So like I said, 15 minutes on Instagram TV. I've had people, good friends of mine, say, well, that might even be too long. Maybe you want to break that up into 3 5-minute blocks. Or
that could be a YouTube video.
Well, so that's my point. 15 minutes on any subject, because I'm pretty long-winded anyways. I am literally, if people believe it or not, I am so skimming over just the basics. I could talk, and maybe at one point I will, like I could talk for a month, every day for a month for 15 minutes just about fire. So how do you do that, right? And so I'll have to figure that out going forward. But
my snapshot assessment would be you could split that between Instagram and YouTube. I would get a camera and upload that to YouTube, but to let people know that you're doing that. And the editing is not hard. I could show you this.
I'm smiling because it's like...
But you could take 1 minute, 60-second short clips of that and post that on Instagram.
And, like maybe as a teaser and then...
As a teaser or just like an intro to the next or the video that you just posted. So it can live on both places, and it probably wouldn't drastically increase your workflow because you could film both on the same device. Mm-hmm. I would say probably not your phone for YouTube. Get a station, like one of these cameras. And then... you could do both of it. It would be one filming, but you could get both of those pieces of content. That's what I would say as your social media manager.
Oh, my God. What am I doing? Where did my life go wrong?
It's COVID time. You have nothing but time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but I thought about this. I probably overthink everything, but I thought about, I want to make sure that when, we're either back in the office or, I'm still working full time, but life goes back to quote normal, whatever that means. That I still have the time to, maintenance this thing and build it. And I think I do. I just have to find some efficiency with it. Like what you have going on.
I was going to say your workflow is going to determine whether or not. So the first time I recorded in this studio, everything was wrong. The camera angles were wrong. They were off. Like I had them mounted on the walls. I was thinking in my head, in my head it was perfect. In execution, it was dog
funny how
shit.
that is.
Yeah. And I had written out schematics. I was like, oh, this is the angle, and it was all going to be great. No, it sucked. So then I went back to the tripods, moved the angles around based off people's feedback. I couldn't get the recording software to work until literally an hour before the first guest was going to... I was losing my fucking shit. So now I got it all working, and it was one button. It was one button deep inside of a software that I found, and I was getting ready to football spike everything.
We're not those guys, man. I mean...
No,
I know you're outside.
But you know what? Though?
We're outside your comfort zone as well.
You know how I solved the issue? YouTube. I started Googling how do you with I think it's a Focusrite or whatever it is. So that knowledge, thankfully, somebody who had 30 years of experience put together. It was a 60-second snippet that saved my ass. I was getting ready to burn this place to the goddamn ground.
Oh yeah, I could.
But that's the value.
That would have been a funny video.
But that's I couldn't even figure out how to make the video because there would have been no audio.
Yeah, that's what I did. I literally, I'm like, stop being a dumbass, go to Google and say, how do I post a video longer than 90 seconds on IG? And I'm just like, God, I'm so. But
I do that all the time. How do I?
Yes,
do
I
this
do
on
appreciate.
editing?
I do appreciate when you get there and you're like, God, somebody thought about this.
And they put it up there, and when it shortened my learning curve.
Oh, 100%.
Because the software, I'm sure people who know this software are laughing because it's not complex, but I didn't know where to look.
Yeah.
It was a sub-menu down and one little bar that I had to slide from gray to green to turn it on. And then life was better. And then the first guest showed up, but then I had to undo the camera angles. And so the first episode took me 10x the amount of time that the second one in here did, and then the third and then the fourth. I think it's all built into the efficiency.
Yeah.
And now it's pretty much Like we came in here, I was ready to go in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's plug and play.
Yeah.
And then my workflow after this, where I put the videos, where I record the audio, you'd have time to do it for sure.
Yeah. It's an interesting journey, and I'm trying not to put any pressure on myself. I mean, if I choose to stop doing it today for the rest of my life, then I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to put that pressure on myself right now. I want to try to learn. I want to try to enjoy that.
I think you would have...
And I can reach out to guys that have done this, right?
Oh, for
so
sure.
it's super easy. I have so many assets,
I think you would have a crazy amount of following and positive feedback if you started taking the knowledge you've accrued over 30 years between your ears and started imparting it on a video, or even, I mean, I would listen to the John Barklow podcast, but I would want the blooper reels in there too. You cannot edit out the high and left sessions.
Oh, yeah. Which would there'd be a lot.
Which would be worth the price of admission.
I don't even know if I've told you this. So as I was kind of getting up to my retirement time, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like the rest of us, probably still don't know what I want to do. But I wrote a book. For lack of a better term, I'll call it a book. I wrote a book. Mostly because I didn't want to forget what I knew. Because as you know,
yeah,
some of that stuff with time, it becomes dusty. And so I have this great reference now. And maybe I wanted to publish it at the time, and I'm glad I didn't. I mean, it's in a book format, but it's awesome resource to go back and go, is that really true? Do I really remember it? And then I have that written down, which obviously would. So that's been pretty cool to do that, and it's so that I can pull something out. Like if I want to throw an IG post up, and I'm like, whatever, like shelters the other day, and I'm like, just let me and I have my own reference that I wrote, and I'm like, just let me check real quick. I'm like, yeah, that's right. I remember that right.
Do you think you'll ever publish it?
So here's the interesting thing. I would like to tell you yes, but I don't know what the format looks like now. Like, I don't even know if people read books anymore, to be quite frank. Like, audiobooks are a thing. Is it a digital platform? Like,
I feel like that one is probably going to need a visual reference because you're going to have some schematic stuff laid out in there. Specifically like shelter,
100%, yeah.
Backpack type. You're going to need a visual essence to that. But it could be digital.
Yeah, I think it could be digital. So here's what's interesting. I'm 51. You're, mid-40s, early 40s? Early 40s.
43.
Yeah, so I'm in my 50s. You're in your 40s. I have a lot of people that I work with that are late 20s, early 30s. So several different generations. Depending on that generation, you will get a different answer. Some people
as to how they would want to consume it?
Exactly. Sure. And so it's like, okay, what demographic are you gonna target, and then what product do you deliver, or multiple products to kind of cater to that demographic? Because the 30-year-old will tell you print's dead. They don't even read a book.
They tell you print's dead now. I think that print is going to have a resurgence at some point.
Just like vinyl.
Yeah.
All of a sudden vinyl made it because
You'll be the cool dude with your ivory-handled pipe and dick broom sitting there reading a Steinbeck novel.
What's old is new and what's new is old,
Fine leather sofa. You'll have a cat perched across your
lap.
Well,
the cat's a given. I don't know about I think I'm over the dick broom.
You got some guys that work with you there that have finely crafted dick brooms.
Luscious, I would even say.
Yeah.
Magnificent.
We're not going to go that far.
Manicured.
Yes. 100% manicured. I'm not going to use the other M. They're not magnificent. Yeah, but they'll look back at those pictures at some point in their life and realize that the facial hair,
as we all do,
paired with the man bun, is not a good look.
Yeah.
Or maybe it is. Maybe I am completely and utterly lost on society.
No, I'm not. I'm probably never going to change my opinion on that fucking man bun. I would, if I wanted to just fucking rage against the machine, I'd walk downtown Bozeman with a pair of scissors and just clip man buns. Like, I think it'd be fun to do. Nowadays, you probably can't do that, but a couple years ago, probably could have.
Does Bozeman get pretty swamped in the summertime as well?
Oh, yeah. Well, so you have to understand Bozeman. So I live outside of Bozeman, as you know, but Bozeman Airport does two things. In the summer, it caters to people going to Yellowstone.
Yes,
and in the winter,
Yellowstone.
It caters to people going to Big Sky to ski. So
both, by the way, everybody, awesome options.
Yeah. Yep. So it's a year-round kind of tourist destination. And so, who knew with the virus what was going to happen, but we're doing just fine. I'm sure tourism board would tell you we're down, but you go to downtown Bozeman, it's doing just fine.
Kalispell is the same way.
It seems like it, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot more
Glacier,
people.
you probably have Glacier, and you have
Glacier's
Whitefish.
just up to the northeast.
Yep.
And Whitefish is due north. From like I was saying, as we were walking to the building, if there was no buildings, we could see the ski slopes of Big Mountain, and then the western entrance to Glacier.
Yeah,
So pretty amazing.
Very similar economies then.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the old COVID era? Do you want it to go back to normal? We were having this conversation last night.
Fuck me, Andy.
I don't know.
To ask, but
Well, I don't know if.
I can give you my opinion, but which is obviously what you want. But
Perfect.
let's
talk about the impact it's had on your life, because I think both you and I had a realization that we were going far too fast in fifth gear for far too long.
Yeah.
And I had lost, I think, the ability to realize that.
Yeah. The first thing is you can't discount that, people have been, negatively affected by this, either in their job or they've had loved ones die or, even been infected themselves and suffered for some extent, right? But with that said, that's fucking life. That is going on in the world, as you and I know.
24/7.
Most people's lives in other parts of the world, that's all they know is this bullshit. Okay, so
maybe not. They maybe not know COVID.
Not COVID, but as far as unemployment, not being able to do what they want to do. Like, we have it so good here, right?
Yeah.
So you fall from a high platform, not too far, and you're like, oh, this sucks. But the reality is, compared to everybody else in the world, it's very reasonable. Please stay in your home with your family. Most of you can work from home. Some of you may get sick, and a few of you will die, right? Like, in the grand scheme of things, that's not so bad. And but you know what? I stopped watching the news a long time ago. So a couple things happened. This is a really interesting part of my life because a bunch of things unknowingly came together at the same time. So one of which was, as you know, the last time you guys were down to my place, I stopped drinking. I was like, 31 years, 35 years, I'll take a couple days off because just to see.
And to make sure you could.
Yeah. And to make sure I could. And come to find out I could. And what started out as maybe 3 weeks turned into 3 months.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Right?
I took 2 years off one time.
Did you really?
It was actually when I was on the East Coast. It was
really.
It was a combination
was
of.
It when you were recovering from your.
Yes, it was post injury. It was when I found Mark Twain.
Yep.
Because I got so into training that I realized that when you feel like shit, which should have been an intuitive lesson. When you feel like shit, you don't want to train very hard. And I linked up with my buddy Steve Sanders, who's been on the podcast, Triple S.
Yeah.
And we both one day said to each other, like, all right, let's just take some time off drinking. And it never, I don't think I have an addictive personality. It didn't bother me either way. I can drink or not drink. I enjoy drinking occasionally with the right group of people. I do not enjoy drinking at all with the wrong group of people.
Right.
But I could also turn that switch off and it doesn't bother me.
But in our former lives, like drinking was a way of life. Drinking was a sport. Like the peer pressure I enjoyed it too. Nobody forced me to drink, but the peer pressure to say quit and stay quit, like that's impressive, especially considering where you were.
Well, think about what we used to be punished with mistakes.
Yeah.
Oh, this is your first time jumping out of a C-130? Case of beer.
Alcohol.
This is your first time doing an OTB or OTH? Case of beer.
Alcohol.
This is the first time that you've shot a fill in the blank. Case of beer. If you made a mistake, oh, that's a 6-pack. Oh, so everything was, the punitive measures were calculated in fucking booze.
It was.
You got your trident.
It was part of
a
life.
Keg. Yeah.
It was part of life. So, anyways, I stopped that, and I really enjoyed it. And just as a little sidebar, 49 was not a good year for me. I had a lot of injuries. I was feeling old. I was not happy with myself. And I'm like, fuck, I can't. I don't want to live the rest.
Was it all year, or was it when you were approaching 50?
No. It was on and off for my entire 49th year. And so I'm thinking, fuck, I'm not even 50 yet. I can't live this way. Like, I got to figure something out. 50 was better. 51, I was like, okay, now I need to make maybe a few more drastic changes and see what happens. So I stopped drinking for 3 months.
Are you 51 yet?
Yeah, I'm 51.
When's your birthday?
End of March.
I thought it was in August for some reason.
No.
I'm a shitty friend.
Yeah, no.
Happy
you're not.
birthday.
Fuck, I barely remember my own birthday. But 51, dude, so a couple things, besides just drinking, but, we talked like I'm sublingual CBD every day.
You literally have described it as life-changing for you.
So for me, it's life-changing to the point where I'm fucking terrified if the federal government, like, if they somehow took it off the market or regulated it, like, I'm a fucking junkie damn near. Like, I'll pay. So it wasn't just so I got, some injuries like we all do, but that was the reason I started. The side effect, so to speak, that I did not see coming was the, and it's probably tied to, people have told me it's probably tied to the lack of inflammation or reduced inflammation. I'm not the asshole I used to be. Like, my call sign was grumpy. Like, I didn't like myself. I was wondering if people at work, like, I'm like, fuck, they should probably file a complaint against me or fucking fire me because, not only, I mean, obviously where the jobs we used to have in the environments we used to work in, like, it was great white sharks swimming with great white sharks. And if there was blood, we attacked each other.
Correct.
I actually liked that, but I'm glad I'm out of it now, but I couldn't cope. And so CBD, the side effect I didn't see coming was my wife likes me better. I like myself better. Right.
A lot of that has to be tied to not being in pain.
I believe so.
Chronic pain will fuck you up. 2
weeks prior, so I had used some CBD creams. Trevor and John had kind of got me on that. But 2 weeks prior to me trying the drop sublingually, which is the way to go, it's more expensive, but it's the way to go for me. I was in the orthopedic surgeon's office, and I said, I don't give a shit. Just fuse my wrist. I can't take the pain anymore. My quality of life sucks. I can't hold a coffee cup. I can't turn a fucking doorknob. I can't shake somebody's hand. And I damn sure can't do push-ups. So it was starting to affect my health, mentally, physically, everything.
And how old was that injury?
Fuck, 20-some years old,
just nagging at you for 2 decades.
But obviously, the older I get, the worse it got.
Yeah.
I got inflammation. I got arthritis. I got all this bullshit. And so he's a cool dude. And he looks at me and he's like, well, you've had it for so long, and I don't know how you've dealt with it, but you've dealt with it. Like, I would try everything you can before we fuse it, because once it's fused, like, we're going to put plates in there, it's fucking done. And he looks at me, he goes, have you tried this? Have you tried that? He goes, have you tried vaping CBD oil? And I look him straight back and I'm like, do I look like a guy who's going to fucking vape CBD? And he laughs, But I walked out of there. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to vape it.
Went straight to a vape
I'd
shop.
have to kick my own ass. But I did the sub, and literally, so that was 2 weeks prior to me going on it. I would say 2 additional weeks, so a month post talking to this guy. It wasn't keeping me up at night. I was doing workouts. I was able to stack 10 days worth of workouts where I could only stack maybe 2 or 3, or like if you rolled every day, like, I couldn't do that.
Yeah. So
I'm like, well, fuck, man. It can't be a placebo because I could physically see things not inflamed anymore. I don't even know how we started down this rabbit hole, but
we're talking about COVID.
Yeah. So there's a lot of shit going on. I'll just make the statement, for me personally, COVID was the best thing that happened in my life and in my adult life in 30 years. So work-life balance, which we used to either work. That's what we did. It was our life.
Yeah. Well, our work was our life, so there wasn't much of a balance.
There wasn't much of a balance.
Yeah.
And I like what I do, but I also knew that, my former life is over. This is my life going forward. I didn't have a good work-life balance. I worked my ass off when I got out of the military because I wanted to reestablish myself, build a civilian resume, I used to say. But then I'm like, okay, I can't continue this. My wife would like to see me more. Thank God she stuck around, all this kind of stuff. COVID gave me that because I'm disciplined enough to work from home. I can get up at 6 in the morning, do email at 6, where normally I'd go to the office at 8. I'm getting an hour back in my life just in driving. If I decide to do email at 6 and at 7 go do a workout or go walk the dogs or whatever. And I don't mind working at 8 at night because I've gotten a lot of other shit done personally.
Yeah.
I feel more fulfilled, more satisfied right now. I personally never want to go back to the office full time. I don't mind going back. It's not like I don't miss those people, but I don't need a lot of that in my life. So that did it. I stopped watching the news. I stopped drinking. I have better communication with friends than I probably ever have. So it's been good for me because it's given me that pause. And like we were talking, you don't know you're running 1 million miles a minute. You don't know the flights you're taking and the time in hotels and what that's doing to a lot, not just relationships, but your health, your mental, physical health.
Just physiologically.
The food you're eating or not eating. And, I've heard other people talk about it. I hope we learn from this. My guess is we're going to go back to the way you might not be, say, traveling to Singapore as an example for a while. My guess is we'll go back to that because somebody will do it and then we'll need to compete to keep up and then we'll be back to it. And everybody will have gold status or diamond status again on the airplanes. I haven't been on an airplane in over 3 months. Fuck, I don't miss it.
Same.
I don't care if I ever get back on an airplane. Now, I miss some of the events or the people I would have gone and seen or some of the events I would have done. I miss not doing those.
Yeah.
But I do not miss getting on an airplane anymore. So it's going to be interesting as we come out of this. I think there's lots of silver linings, that some of which we know, some of which you don't. But we don't also know that some of the long-term negative ramifications either. And we're just going to have to figure it out,
Yeah, I oscillate back and forth between feeling like I had some of the, if not the best experiences during that period where I actually was forced not to travel. I traveled a couple times during the beginning of it when, like I was in LA the night before they locked LA down for the first time and actually left the next day. Got the fuck out of there. Haven't been back really since. Haven't been on an airplane in months and didn't realize how fast I was going. Didn't realize how much time I was spending traveling. But then also not having a job like you have at Sitka with actual roles and responsibilities, I oscillate between this is amazing and I'm accomplishing nothing with my life because I have to, and I still am working on this. I have my notebook and trying to figure out, I'm trying to actually write my framework instead of opposed to having it just in my head, like, what do I want to accomplish? When do I want to, I'm basically writing myself a roles and responsibilities because otherwise I'd be like, this is amazing. I'm not doing anything. This is amazing. I'm not doing anything. And I don't like that oscillation. It sucks.
Yeah.
So trying to round that out. But I don't want to travel as much as I used to. I miss the events as well. Like I miss hanging out with Dud and going and
exactly.
doing like archery type stuff. But at the same time, I enjoyed the fact. So instead, I get to build this. It's pros and cons.
Would you have done this or
No.
would you have done this as quickly?
No.
Right?
I don't think I would have ever done it because that was me writing out the beginning to write out my framework. I used to do a ton of public speaking, and I think that world will come back. But like we were talking about yesterday, it might not because all these companies are finding efficiency by not having people, large groups of people in their offices. Why go back to that?
Yeah.
They can remove that massive monthly nut of that overhead. So, but then I don't have anywhere to go speak. There's the digital world, which you can demand less, I have found, for your time. So there's maybe somewhere in between. But I was looking at, what can I do? I can start releasing a Friday Q&A to increase the number of offerings. I can try to control the consistency of the audio and the video, which is a studio. So fuck it. Like I'll try to control what I can and professionalize what I can. And, we're 2 months into it.
I think for people that are, obviously a lot of us are similar. That's why we're friends and hang out. But people that are motivated, people that have some drive, that don't just stick to the status quo. I think a lot of those people are going to find that they're well ahead or doing things that they would not have otherwise done. And there will be thousands of people that will get doctoral, PhDs and write doctoral theses on this giant sociological experiment that we were all forced into. Because my business...
Which isn't over yet.
Fuck no, it's not even close to over. But, to speak, like my business would have probably never said, you know what? Let's all work from home for a month and see how it works out. that would have never happened.
Yeah.
But we were forced into it. And all of a sudden, we're finding efficiencies. And it's like, maybe we don't need to be in the office all the time, which means maybe we don't need as big a building. And so everybody's going through this. And it's going to be, I don't have kids, but you do. Like, your children's adult life absolutely will be different than ours because of whatever this is that we come out of.
They're getting forced to reevaluate education right now.
They are. College. Look at college. Like, hey, they're doing a lot of college online.
And I'm seeing that even just in my kids. They went from going to school, I want to say it was as clean as they went 1 week Monday through Friday and didn't go the next, but I think they actually pulled them school midweek. And within 2 to 3 weeks, they had an online curriculum, which had to have been a rough interaction for the teachers.
I would think, yeah.
But now they have had 6, 7, school. It's August now, so school starts at the end of this month up here. And the emails are coming out. They're trying to find a balance. Do people want to go back to school, or is it remote learning? I mean, it might completely resurface and reface education, at least at a K through 12 level.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. It's going to be really interesting to find out. But it would have never happened unless we were forced, right? I mean, the world was forced to do this. It's unprecedented in that regard.
Yeah. I'm seriously worried about the negative outcomes, though. The economic destruction. I'm seeing it even here in Main Street in Kalispell.
Yeah.
Empty. Yeah. Summertime is the sweet spot for having people come up here for the water sports, hiking, downhill mountain biking. Obviously, the resort exists in the wintertime for skiing, but the population here drastically swells in the summer. And so has the number of businesses that have shuttered on Main Street.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine that they're the ones that are surviving are just stuffing cash away. I don't know how much longer that they can take it. And if they go under, how long is it going to be before somebody can fill that void? And if you can't fill that void, what the fuck happens to Main Street?
Mm-hmm.
And this is just, now we can talk Main Street America.
Yeah. Yeah. It was some astronomical number, and I don't know where the person got it. But anyways, they were talking about restaurants. And they said, listen, I mean, there's a potential 50% of the restaurants don't come back.
Yeah.
They just don't have, there's not enough margin. They got too much overhead. Obviously, they've laid the waiters and waitresses off, We're not going to know for a while. My industry, how many of those brands are going to weather it? Nope.
And the cascading effects. So you're, Sitka. I was talking with Dudley yesterday. We were talking about Alberta. We would be in Alberta probably 3 weeks from today.
Yeah.
I would start my drive up. I'd pick him up in Edmonton. We'd go up to the Red Willow Outfitters, and I can't.
Yeah.
I could, but I'd have to absorb a 2-week quarantine before I could begin hunting for a week. I don't have 3 weeks.
No.
And that outfitter, if you're a Canadian citizen, you don't need a guide. So that outfitter, their business is tailored to people coming in from out of the country.
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to survive? And they're purchasers of, you know what I mean? That's the bottom end that's going to slowly start chipping away at the ladder that goes up towards your industry.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously, I'm keeping up on that because it is part of my job, and there's for sure some of them are not going to make it because not only was their spring business canceled, but now because of the border, their fall season's going to be canceled. So you have an entire year. Some of them are bringing in, say, Canadian clients that just want to, have a tailored, catered hunt, but for a lot less money.
Oh, for sure.
So nobody knows, man. It's I don't know. It's going to be, and the other thing is, like up here where you live, demographics are going to change because once people do realize that they can work from home, do I now have to live in the city? Do I now have to live in a certain state? Can I move and work from the center of the country? Like, we're already seeing that.
That was going to be the next thing out of my mouth.
We're already seeing it.
Here and I'm seeing it expressed through real estate.
Yep.
I have nothing to do with the real estate market, but I know a couple people who are in it. It's sight unseen purchases. It's over asking price. And that's some shit that I saw when I was living in Virginia Beach when we left in 2006, like the height before it went pop. But I mean, that's kind of why we moved up here. I realized I no longer had a place where I needed to go to. And as long as I had an airport,
right,
and I could physically commute, which who knows what that'll look like in the future, like we've already talked about, but and a lot of the purchasing or coming from states that, let's just say, have been far more restrictive in what they've let their people do. And people are just hitting the eject button. Get me the fuck out of here.
Yep.
And I can't blame them.
Yep.
I can't blame them.
I think people should look at like Nebraska. I think a lot of people should move to Nebraska.
Iowa's a good spot near Des Moines.
Iowa would be a beautiful spot.
Yeah, just southeast of Des Moines by like 30 miles. I think they really should heavily populate that area. It'd be a good spot to start. Now, people get so pissed at me for posting pictures of Montana, which of course drives me to post more pictures of Montana. But it's like, hey, asshole, people knew that this was a beautiful state long before I had an Instagram account. So calm down.
As big a state as it is, though, there's only a few, population centers.
The corridor, yeah, the east-west corridor and the north-south.
Yep, basically where you live and where I live are two of them.
Yeah. Billings is east of you, right?
Billings is east.
I did not
Missoula's
know
west.
that Billings was the largest city in Montana.
Yeah.
I've never been.
Yeah. Not to offend anybody from Billings, but I don't think you're missing much.
I've actually heard that from a lot of people.
I've only driven through it. I know a few people that live there, but I haven't actually been there. But
yeah, interesting times, John Barklow.
Yeah.
When is Sitka looking at going back into their actual physical building?
So we're moving into a new building in September. We built a larger building directly behind where we are currently. We'll vacate the one, move into the other. That's September. A couple weeks ago, we were told that, a 40% or something like that could go back to work with, some general social distancing guidelines. Now that the governor is, mandated masks, et cetera, we've gone back to nobody in the office. Nobody knows, dude.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
What about trade shows?
I don't want to go to a trade show.
I was just going to say, how awesome is it that you don't have to go to a trade show?
I don't know if they're going to. Could you imagine? I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine that they do SHOT Show.
I've heard that SHOT Show is on.
That's what I've heard too. But as you know, it is a sea of humanity. I mean, packed in like sardines.
Global humanity too.
Global humanity.
Yes.
A lot of fucking handshaking. You want to talk about ground zero. I'm not going to Asia this year. Normally I go to Asia, Vietnam, China, whatever, a couple weeks in December. That's off. What's interesting about that is I should have been in China last December, but for a couple reasons. And the biggest one is they had all those riots in Hong Kong.
Yes,
so normally,
I was actually there for some of that.
Were you really?
I saw some of that firsthand.
We would normally go into China from Hong Kong. So we'd base out of Hong Kong because we have an office there. A lot of people would travel to us, and then we'd make 1, 2, 3 day forays into China and back. So we diverted and skipped Hong Kong, which meant we didn't go to China and just spent a few weeks in Vietnam. Or I wouldn't have been in where the hell did it start? I wouldn't have been right there in that city, but around there. But nobody knew about it. Nobody was even talking about this, you know. But I'm not going to go back this year.
I'm going to avoid getting on an airplane for as long as possible.
As long as I can.
Yeah.
I'd rather drive somewhere. I'd rather drive for a day than fly for an hour right now.
I would like to do that because I can pull over and pee on the side of the road.
That too.
If you do that in an airplane, the person that you're peeing on gets upset. If you just walk randomly and just...
Have you talked to people that have flown recently? Like, it's
not
kind of odd,
incredibly
man.
recently. So when I flew, like I said, I've traveled 3 times. The first time I traveled, there was maybe 5 people on the plane, which was eerie. And then it was like 7, and then it was 9. So slowly and incrementally...
It's not even worth flying the plane.
They have to be losing money by the bucket load. But I think they were also getting federal funds to keep the airplanes flying, which I think is ending very soon. I actually believe that the furloughs have started to hit. Because, I saw American Airlines and Spirit Airlines, thousands of, I think it was 15,000 pilots for American.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Get some of that action. And then, if let's say it turns back on, those people won't be current.
No.
They have to go through all the recurrency training, all that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. You can turn the microphone. Look at that.
Yeah,
you can turn it.
Turn
it more towards you, John.
It's very
No,
disturbing.
this little one right here.
It's very disturbing.
Turn that section. There you go. You did it.
We almost look like we know what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, be reasonable. Tell me about recovering MIAs in Vietnam. You brought that up last night briefly. It's like that That to me is fascinating. How in the
That
hell?
was a very long time ago in my life, but
Yeah, but okay.
I was stationed in the Philippines at the time, but it had been going on prior to me. It's not like we were the first ones. Anyways, the reason I was asked to go is at the time I knew how to take pictures underwater, and
How big was the piece of camera equipment? Because
if
you're saying you were young, so this is like the 1930s.
Yeah, late 80s. Yeah,
late 50s.
Yeah.
I have to imagine that the photographic equipment was not what it is today.
It wasn't digital, man. It was film. Yeah, and everything was in.
Some would argue that is still better.
Everything was in big housings and fucking lights and crazy stuff. I couldn't. Yeah. But anyways, and I don't know if they're still doing it. Maybe it's some regard. But anyways, at the time, it was a joint operation with civilians and military, and it was coordinated.
Host nation civilians or American civilians?
American, but
gotcha.
And remember, I was young and a fucking dumb young kid in the military, but it was, obviously worked through the Vietnamese government. Anyways, the reason the military was involved were a couple reasons, but the biggest one was they were trying to find, the one I was on, we were trying to find plane wrecks, documented in some regard plane wrecks, trying to find the plane wrecks and then trying to find any remains, or, if you could find the remains and you could identify the airplane, then you could say, this is so-and-so.
For sure.
Right?
Bring closure to families.
Correct. The reason I was there was to document the airplane or helicopter underwater, because it was, essentially a forensic record. And then EOD was there, so explosive ordnance disposal, as you know, but because this was war and those planes crashed with ordnance. And even if they didn't have ordnance, like ejection seats and everything have ordnance. So they were there to kind of like clear and safe the wreck. I was there to document it. And then the forensic folks were there to, for the remain part. And it was super cool. This was prior to the first Gulf War. So, really nothing going on in the world, so to speak. And because I was already in the Philippines, it was an easy jump.
Hop, skip, and a jump. Yeah.
So the EOD unit that was there, they were the ones tasked. And then I got, put in with them to go over and do that.
How many wrecks did you dive on?
Well, we dove a bunch of spots that we never did actually find a wreck.
Did they try to find it with like sonar first, or some way to image the bottom?
It depended. Some of them were like in, I dove in some, just in my life, I dove in some horrible fucking places. But some of them were inland, freshwater bodies of water. One was on the edge of the Mekong Delta, in the Delta area. One was like in a more of a high mountain lake, so to speak. And then there were a couple in the ocean. I don't think I dove in the ocean. I don't think we ever found any in the ocean. And with salt water, it's really corrosive. So
yeah.
But we did find a couple. One helicopter, two planes. They found remains on one, or what they thought were remains. Like I said, we were there to do a job, and then we left, and you never hear actually how it turns out. But it was a weird feeling, man, because, so let's just say this was 1989. Vietnam War, I think, officially ended in 75. So
I think so, yeah.
There wasn't that much time that had passed. And I grew up as a child, with the Vietnam War going on, but to all of a sudden have like this connection back was a really weird thing to me. And I never thought I'd go back. I never thought I'd be there in the first place. But now with my job, like I said, I've gone back and traveled the whole country. And those feelings, I can't ever just like get over those feelings. Like, I'm sure those people probably still think of the war, even the younger generation, but I can't go there and not just think about that, because I just wonder, like, as I'm flying over, I'm like, how many remains are still down there, like, that some family member would really love to just have some closure on?
Probably on both sides of the house.
100%, and that's such a, it's such a wicked environment with the jungle. That could just hide shit. That could hide stuff. Yeah, which not my favorite place.
The jungle is the least forgiving environment that I have ever operated in. Followed a close second by the fucking desert.
Yeah, I'll take the desert. I would probably take the desert over the jungle if I had to pick.
Oh yeah. But I'd also would want to pick the time of year.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to be a June month. Let me just tell you.
No.
Have you ever thought about, in your travels over there, sitting down and talking with somebody about their take on the Vietnam War?
I have actually. Like, I think there's a lot of, I don't know, for some reason, it's just something I'm really intrigued by. And I've said this to people when I've come back, and I certainly don't mean any disrespect in any regard to, obviously any veteran that served there, but obviously a lot of people died. A lot of people are still suffering. But it's interesting to me because we do business with Vietnam now, and when you fly into the country, you have to have a visa, and you fly into the country and everybody's wearing a little general uniform, right? So they all look like they're fucking 4-star generals. But once you clear the customs there and go out into the civilian populace, they seem like they're pretty damn happy, and they seem like they're doing very well and industrious. It's not our quality of life. People are like, oh, well, they don't have this and that. It's like, yeah, but to them, like, they're doing really well. They all own a scooter, it seems like. Fucking everybody's got a scooter, right? They're all sitting in front of little bars. They're all eating out at restaurants. A lot of factories are doing a lot of work. It seems like they've done well for themselves, but there's it's called Ho Chi Minh City now. We called it Saigon. I still call it Saigon, but it's called Ho Chi Minh City, I guess, now officially. But there's a war museum there. It's a freaky place because
I bet.
I've never been to a country. I've never been to any country where I went to a museum, in a country we had fought at some time and saw their take. It's fucking disturbing. Like, when you go in there, like, they don't shy away from the fact that they tortured people, that they tortured us.
Really?
Fuck no. They don't shy away from any of that. And, we're the aggressor. We're the bad guy. They did what they needed to do to survive. They certainly celebrate the victory, as I guess they should. But I've never seen it from the other perspective. And they have it there for, anybody to go to. Obviously, people in Vietnam probably don't go there very often, but there's a lot of tourism. It's a really interesting thing to see. And I wasn't expecting it. I didn't walk in there with that in mind. But as soon as I saw it, it was like a punch to the face. And I'm like, oh, fuck. This is a totally different thing, if you go to Pearl Harbor and you look at that, we were the ones that were picked on. We were, the Japanese were aggressors to us, and it's like we mourn our dead, and the Japanese were bad. But when you walked in there, it was like, oh, my country was the bad country in their perspective, and they did what they needed to survive. And oh, by the way, they won, and they kicked our ass, and they celebrated. It was really put me off my guard. I didn't see that.
I think it would be valuable to see it from that perspective.
I
and
think
to not forget that regardless of how deeply you believe something, there is at least another narrative, whether you choose to believe it or not, but that it exists.
Yeah.
And I personally, for me, I don't know if I could say enjoy that exploration, but I would at least go through that for my own personal development.
It's I think it's valuable. You know, I think it's valuable. When the Soviets were fighting in Afghanistan, the Soviets were the bad guy. They were the aggressor. They were the occupier. When we go there and spend 20 fucking years, they're the bad guy in their own hometown. Now, I don't want to go down that, road, but it's perspective.
Correct.
It's perspective. But, if they put a war museum up in Afghanistan
or Iraq,
the Russians, in Afghanistan, the Russians and the Americans are the bad guys. And probably they would write history where they won. And they probably did, a lot of regard. Or in Iraq, it's something we don't think about, just because I just never been in that situation before. So it's interesting how, now that I'm talking about it, actually, how much just over the years I've been in and out of Vietnam. And man,
how many
there's
times
some
have you been?
beautiful places. I don't know, probably 5 or 6 times now. But I've gotten to travel from the north to the south. I've gotten to, definitely interact with the people, business people, but a lot of just locals too.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful country. They have a lot of tourism there, like their beaches and stuff. It's very similar to Thailand, which, obviously you've been to Thailand. So,
Yep.
It's an interesting country. But I never try to let myself not remember that it's a communist country. So, like, as an example, like, I'll make it a point to try to go on Google and search for something that probably I shouldn't. And you can't. You can't. And you're like, yeah, there is censorship here, and they are communist. But you wouldn't know that just to go out to a restaurant and interact with people.
I have never been. I've never actually had the chance to go. I wonder if my dad would go with me if I got the chance to go, having served in Vietnam. I can't answer. I'm actually going to ask him that next time I talk to him. I'm curious. I'm curious for people who served in that war if there would be value in going back. Because I've actually thought about that myself. Would I go back? There's some pretty bitchin' wingsuit base jumps in Afghanistan.
Would you go back to ski, right? If you could, and do some heli skiing or something like that.
Like Evan Shirt, the
exactly
Konar Valley Heli Skiing Co.
Exactly, But
at first, I would want to. I would go back. I think to both Afghanistan and Iraq. Say 20 years from now, it is whatever it is. Let's hope it's a better place than it was before we got there, and that it is now. But I would go back. I think personally, it would give me some closure, and I say that having had an infinitesimally small amount of impact, if any impact whatsoever. I still think it would be valuable to go back.
I think it's probably a case-by-case basis, because I've thought about that often. Would a Vietnam vet go back to Vietnam? And in that museum, as an example, or walking around some of the cities, I've seen those vets. Like, they don't hide the fact that, they were a Vietnam vet.
Yeah.
And nobody spits on them or anything. But I think it's probably a very cathartic, therapeutic thing, depending on the person.
Yeah,
I don't
case
think,
by case.
I think some people probably couldn't deal with that. How could you go back? That was my point. Like, how could somebody who had a horrible experience there go back and see a country thriving and happy and prosperous? Like, I think that'd be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. I don't know, but I think it's case by case.
I suspect you're correct in that assessment. You mentioned when you were talking about the diving for wreckage that you've dove in some horrendous spots.
Yeah.
Let's hear about the tales of the Navy diver, John Barklow.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't fucking pay me to do it now. Like, I think back, I'm just like, so I was...
Did you do hard hat diving?
In training.
Okay.
But so I had a really unique career, as we probably talked about, and don't necessarily need to go over all of it again. But so I the first place I ever went in the Navy was the Philippines. That's where I was stationed. And that set the course of my life, and certainly my military career, just not only because what I was doing and how we were doing it, but the people that were there. So very small group of people. I was one of, at the time, like, I think it ended up being, there were 6 of us that were very, very, very young, like brand new into the Navy. But at the time, it was just me and another guy, and then all these old Vietnam vets who had served in Vietnam and been stationed in the Philippines, and et cetera, et cetera. But anyways, we just dove straight up scuba, didn't do any hose diving or anything
Twins
like
or
that.
singles?
Oh, fucking twins. Twins. Steel twins. And I do have some great pictures from back then, but
so you're obviously familiar with the diving setup at second phase, the twin.
I went through second phase. A lot of people don't know that, but
so twin 80s.
But I taught that as well. Yeah.
Isn't it an aqua lung regulator? Like,
yeah, they only make them, I think, for buds now. Like, that's not even. It's so fucking archaic, that thing.
Well, They make it because we needed an inhalation and an exhalation
Exactly.
hose so we could introduce problems.
It's a training tool.
It is.
That's purely why, just to get you ready for the dragger.
But there's nothing better than jocking up your students with their weight belt and twin 80s on, having them get a dive mask full of seawater and do wind sprints up the hill,
Yep.
the sand berm. I got in a lot of trouble for that. I did not know that you couldn't do that. But I did know that you couldn't do that when I kept doing it, and that's what I got in trouble for.
You definitely figure out who's a nose breather.
But the twin 80s, fuck.
Yeah.
Those things, pack a lunch, and you're going to get every day as a leg day that you're wearing twin 80s around.
Yeah. Well, the dive locker I was at was around during the Vietnam War, and so we had a lot of the gear. And believe it or not, we actually had some gear. We had twin 90s, twin steel 90 tanks. So the diving, I wished at one point I kept track, but I wish I should have done this before I got out of the Navy. I should have tried to get my records, because I could have requested them to see how much bottom time I had. But when I left after the first 2 years, I had a couple thousand hours underwater.
The first 2 years in the Philippines?
Yeah.
What kind of diving were you guys doing?
So a lot of it was just because it was kind of a forward base into the Pacific. We would do a lot of, so if a submarine came in, you had to do a security swim when it came in. You had to do a security swim when it left, looking for...
And you're talking about a visual inspection of a submarine.
Fucking stem to stern, right? Did some repair on ships. Did things like that.
Did they teach you guys welding too underwater?
No. We back when I went through... Like we learned demo, believe it or not, but the welding was a special thing. But you got exposed to it. So this is a funny story. So this is in school, and you get like 2 rods, whatever the fuck it is, and you just weld 2 plates together. And anyways, it's a horrible experience. Fucking, you're getting electrocuted, and you're supposed to keep your teeth apart so your fillings don't fuse together. I don't know, it's just stupid shit, I didn't like it. And fucking cloudy, and so I get 1 rod, fucking look, I fucking have done nothing. Like, get the second rod, I think I'm doing something. The rod's gone, like, fucking there's no weld, So they give me a couple more, maybe because they felt sorry for me. And finally, here's what I hear, because they can talk to you. Here's what the guy says. He goes, I think I was a seaman at the time, right? But they're like, Seaman Barklow, the United States Navy does not have the time, the patience, or the money to teach you how to dive to weld. You're done. And I was like, thank God. And that was the only time I ever did it. I fucking hated it. But thousands of hours, dude.
I was gonna say, it sounds like you guys were in the water every day.
So here's the thing. Because it was just me and the young guy, right? And there were like 5 or 6 older guys. They were either chiefs or master chiefs, right? All Vietnam vets. They didn't want to dive. They were there to do other things. Well, we wanted to dive. And so every day.
You had the opportunity.
And I think the statute of limitations is up that I could say this, but every day we dove, at least 6 days a week. And I enjoyed the shit out of it. 6 days a week, you'd go there, you'd grab your shit, you jock up, you get in the water. We exceeded.
Oh, the dive tables?
Oh, fuck. All the time. All the time. Because let's, as an example, say that, you used up your, quote, bottom time for the day and a submarine pulled in unannounced. Well, you're not going to not swim on the submarine, so you just go fucking do it. I loved it. But some of the stuff that wasn't so enjoyable was the water that you had to dive in. So for a while there, I'd say for the first 6 months, me and this guy, Gene, dude, I was sick a lot. A lot.
I think I know where the story's going.
Yeah. And then finally we got our own doctor. And so the doctor shows up and he goes, what the hell? Like you guys have parasites. Like you got some shit going on. And he finally gave us some shots, whatever they were, series of shots. I don't think I got sick. I don't think I got sick for 3 years. Like I could have eaten trash off the street. I don't think I'd have gotten sick. Like whatever it was, but we were diving in water that, I mean, shit, like diapers, whatever. The worst one was, though, it was at night and we were asked to go dive and look for a kid. that they
Straight body recovery.
straight body recovery, and which would be bad enough. But it was at night, and it was literally in the place called Shit River. And anybody who's been to the Philippines, like you walk across Shit River. Well, what happened is the fucking kids are sitting there begging, and they don't want money, And so if you're a fucking asshole, you flip the peso into Shit River, and the fucking kid obviously is going to dive in after it. Well, the kid dove in after it and never came up, right? So night, body recovery, Shit River, scuba, me and the other guy, we're tied together so we don't lose each other, but I needed that like physical support to not be scared shitless, because I'm like, fuck, I don't know what's down here. I mean, it's horrible. It's literally shit. Like, it's just liquid shit. And
so your visibility probably wasn't that good.
No, there was no visibility.
Yeah.
And especially because it was at night. But you know how we found the kid?
Probably bumped into him.
I fucking tasted him first.
What?
I tasted him through my regulator. Because you know how that you can, the water comes in, you can, anyways, it's a fucking bizarre. I tasted the fucking kid. And which was that in and of itself was an interesting experience. So fucking I'm pulling on, Gene's only like, it's probably three feet, of rope, but
1 meter.
1 meter. And
John's a fan of the metric system,
you
people.
sound so fucking cool when you talk in metric. But yeah, but and then you didn't want to. I didn't want to reach out, but I knew he was there, and so Gene comes over, and obviously we're not doing anything but squeezing each other, and sure enough, found the kid, brought him up. But
that sucks.
we did quite a bit of not that bad, but we did quite a bit of that. Picked up quite a few, helicopters with people. Like, we would just do anything, and because we were like, they didn't call it this at the time, but because we were basically forward deployed out in the Pacific, we would get sent to different places to do different things within the Pacific, and we would just, couple guys, throw your gear on a fucking plane and fly around and do stuff. So
how much did you dive after that?
not nearly.
I was going to
as
say
much.
your diving experience went.
I got it all the first 2 years. I did some after that.
Did you ever do chamber stuff on the subs?
What do you mean
So there's the dry deck, and then
the lock-in, the escape trunk.
Yeah, the escape trunk.
Yeah. So we talked about that the first time. I taught that in Virginia Beach.
No, thank you.
Back in the day, they had dry deck shelters, but they didn't have all the advanced shit they have now.
Yeah.
They still had SDV2 on the East Coast, which is gone now. But
I think they put it back there.
Oh, did they really?
I believe they reactivated.
Huh. Yeah, no, I love that stuff. I thought it was super fun. I'm not claustrophobic, although I told the HR lady at work I was, so I didn't have to wear a mask. Jokingly. But, we talked like climbing into torpedo tubes and escape trunks, and I have done the dumbest shit underwater, like looking back, but I don't, like you, remember when we were in Lanai, we had that opportunity to go spearfish?
Yeah.
And like your physical revulsion for you're like
willingly entering any body of water.
Yeah.
I want none of it.
Yeah. No, I spearfished up in, I would go spearfishing because I think it's an interesting thing, but I spearfished up in Alaska, which of all places, Alaska, had to wear wetsuit and stuff. And I'm like, I don't think I want to get wet anymore. Like,
I avoid it. I just don't enjoy it.
No.
My initial reaction, Nelson will say, "Hey man, you want to go rafting?" And my initial in my head reaction is just like, ugh. Do I want to get on what is basically an IBS?
Yeah.
Inflatable boat, small, willingly, and float down this river
to have fun.
I have the opposite experience with boats of that size for pretty much every time that I ever have been in them or on them. But I'll go, but I have to force myself to have fun. Like, I end up having fun when I'm there, but I really don't want to do water sports.
Well, it's pretty hilarious. So I was in the Navy, 26 years total. I was never on a ship. Like, I was always in, a diving or spec war command. I think my total time on a ship collectively in my entire 26-year career was 30 days or 32 days.
I hit 14 in 17 years.
I think they kept track of it at some point. I know they do if you're at sea, if you're actually on a ship. But anyways, But I can tell you, but I did a lot of diving off boats and stuff. I fucking hate being out in the ocean. Like, it's just not my thing, man. I don't mind being in the water. I hate being out in the ocean. And do it nowadays, I'm like, it's got to be a really good reason.
Like
I'll go fishing on
I would
occasion.
never pursue sailing.
No.
Like that's if all the potential hobbies available to somebody's life, or pursuits or passions, however you would describe it, I would put sailing at the absolute bottom. The absolute bottom. Like, there's no interest in me to sail around the world, because I would, of course, get caught in a goddamn, what do they call a hurricane that happens out at tsunami or whatever it is. Yeah, I would get killed.
Yep.
Or on a small vessel at high seas.
Well, there's a reason that...
And before I died, I would get horrendously seasick, because it's the worst feeling in the world, 100%. And then die 5 days after being seasick.
Yeah, it's interesting that you and I spent so much time in the Navy, and we're both living in landlocked state.
By choice.
By choice.
I live
100%.
Overlooking a lake that I refuse to go in.
100%. I love looking at it. Don't need to go out in it.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm okay. I mean, I can handle myself in the water. I just want to avoid it at all costs.
I feel completely comfortable in the water. That's not the point. I just did it enough. It's, that saying, does a mailman go for a walk on his day off? It's like, no. And I'm not.
I haven't heard that one, but I'm going to probably.
I'm not getting in the water anymore. I did love it, though, for a while.
Yeah. And then, so, did you dive at all when you were up at Kodiak?
No. Shouldn't say that, but no, we didn't.
You still had your dive pay, though.
Of course we did.
Statute of limitations isn't expired on that fucker. That's right. I know plenty of guys who still pull their jump pay and couldn't put a parachute on to save their life, let alone pack one that had been laid out in front of them.
Yeah.
There's paperwork drills. It's called pencil whipping, people. It's a term that you should Google.
Yeah, no, that's my career ended 180 degrees from where I started, and that was fine. But that part of my life was over. But I enjoy the mountains. I mean, that's what I did. That's what I still do.
Same.
That's what we do, go ski, whatever, board.
We need to put together trips where we go T&E, the new Sitka range, and just destroy it and give it back to the people that create it, which would be you, I guess, and say, fix these problems.
Yeah, it's called a field tester. But the Sitka range, what does that mean?
The Sitka range of clothing.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure one of these days you'll have a mountain range named after you, but for now I was talking about the range of apparel that you guys make.
Call it a collection or a portfolio.
You can call it whatever you want to. I call it a range, the Sitka range. I would change that in your marketing material.
Well, we did when we were on that elk hunt a couple years ago. We were doing that.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you always have little who's-y what's-its that you pull out and say, don't take pictures of this.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm the guy that kind of manages that.
You had it for the Utah hunt last year. You had the new bino harness.
I actually had it for the Montana hunt with me, you, and Dud were on, and it's on film, and nobody ever must have caught it or picked up on it.
The day I was doing my junior cameraman?
No, when we were carrying your bull out, and Caleb was filming.
Oh, 2 days before I got my junior cameraman.
When I saw it, I'm like, oh, shit. And I'm like, well, I'll just let it ride. And because it was camo and camo.
Nobody noticed it?
Nobody ever noticed it. But it was out 2 years on that video, out 2 years prior to.
That was such a good hunting trip. I enjoyed so much how pissed you were when you got to the top of that mountain thinking that there was going to be a bull there for you to shoot. And then we told you that Dudley had shot it.
Yeah.
Your face, the draining of emotion and joy and the will to live. It was so
pretty much
good.
Elk hunting. And
it was so good.
That summed up elk hunting. Perfect. I was so proud of myself, like just fucking putting it out, getting up there. I'm like, fuck yeah.
You did. What was it? What do you
think? If
you'd
have called me like halfway up and told me you'd shot that bull, like I would have just sat down and not even gone. But
try to figure out a way to fire your bow into your own mouth. How do I draw this with my foot? No, that was a hell of a trip. There was some frustration from all parties involved.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's elk hunting. That's just.
How'd your Utah hunt go last year? Because I was pretty damn frustrated on my hunt there. I mean, I got it done the last opportunity of the last day.
Yeah.
It was the morning, so we would have had more time, but. I never heard the story of your bull.
Well, again, it's perspective. So I'll tell you, it's pretty interesting. But I went into that last year saying, don't put pressure on yourself and literally try to enjoy every minute that you're out there because it's such a unique experience.
Had you been there before?
Yeah, the year prior.
Okay, so you knew what you were getting into.
I knew what I was getting into. And so I put so much pressure on myself the first year that even though I was successful, I was like, man, like, I don't know if I'll ever get to go back. I should have enjoyed it more. And so last year I said, I'm going to enjoy this. No matter what, win, lose, or draw, I want to enjoy this. I went pretty deep into the hunt like you, but not to the last day.
I think you went the day before the last day, though.
Day before the last day. Yep.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like we weren't seeing, elk, but
I've seen too many.
Yeah, not the right one. They like to shoot a certain age class.
This is all I got.
Yeah.
For people not watching the video, it's me pinching my fingers together, meaning too small.
But I had a cameraman follow me around the whole time. I don't know if
I did.
Yeah,
Caleb.
Yeah. So anyways, I had a cameraman follow me around the whole time. And so we go to this place that is just going off. Like elk are bugling, they're fighting. You can hear wood getting snapped and broken and antlers clashing together, and just it's on. It's like what any elk hunter would dream of, And so we just slowly worked our way kind of to the edge of it. We thought we were just kind of working our way to the edge of it, and we were just going to see what developed, because something was eventually going to unfold, And we would do a little call-in, and we would call in some young bulls. And we were at like a top of a knob, and then in front of us was this timbered ridge, and that's where all the chaos was going on. So we're like, yeah, we'll just see what happens and just kind of slow play it. And so this cameraman, Austin is his name, he's behind me. And I'm looking forward at this ridge, because that's obviously where it's going to happen, or we thought.
That's where Armageddon is playing itself out.
Yep. And so he was about, I'm trying to think now. Let's just say he was like maybe 15 yards behind me. And he had just a little bit of an angle, so he was where he wanted to be. Well, all this stuff's going on, and all of a sudden, a bull bugles behind me. So now...
So it's also behind Austin as well.
Exactly. So now as I turn, my cameraman's in front of me now, and just off to my right side, just off to my, like at my 1 o'clock, 15 yards out. And this old bull, this is my guess, obviously, but this old bull, because we've been cow calling, instead of being up there on the ridge with the big young boys getting into a fight, he was slipping in the back door and trying to peel this, what he thought was a hot cow off. And so he bugles. I spin.
How far do you think he was when he bugled?
Oh, less than 50 yards.
Okay.
But I couldn't see him.
Which is really hard to describe what that sounds.
The reverberation
and feels
in
like.
your chest is like nothing else.
Okay.
Like I could only imagine that's what a caveman felt when a T-Rex like screamed, right? So I spin. My cameraman's in front of me 15 yards at my 1 o'clock, and Tom, the guide, he's off to my right. So he's well and clear. I have 5 seconds. I mean, I had an arrow knocked and everything. I have 5 seconds, and I can see the bull coming up the hill. I can see his antlers coming up the hill. And I just look over at Tom. I don't even have to move my head, and he just goes like that. And I'm like, all right, fucking game on. That bull comes up. I can see him now, and he's on a trail. And so he's going to walk kind of at an angle to me and be probably within 20 yards. And that bull comes up. Obviously, he doesn't see a cow, and he stops about 5 yards behind Austin, because Austin's facing me, the bull's behind him, and I'm looking at the bull, and I want to shoot this bull.
And is he filming you looking at him?
And he's
at
now
the bull?
filming me, yes.
Oh, shit.
Looking at him and the bull. Well, the bull comes up and he stops, and it's pretty wide open in some aspen trees. And so I kind of just move a little bit to get a tree but behind his eye, and I come to full draw. And listen, like, I haven't done the near amount of shooting you've done, but I've shot on dynamic ranges and stuff, and I have a pretty good, like, I knew where he was, and as long as fucking Austin didn't move, I wasn't going to shoot him, okay? But Austin doesn't know this. So the bull's standing there, he knows something's up, and I'm guessing at a range, but like I said, 20-ish. And the bull just bugles now, which had to, you know, obviously, like I said, now he turns and he's going to disappear, and he's only going to be a couple seconds before he drops back down the hill. I come to full draw, Tom stops him, and I shoot, and I hammer him, but as soon as I hit him, he's gone now down the hill. And I'm trying to be quiet, but obviously, you know, I'm excited to do one of these or whatever. And walk up to Austin, he's like, holy shit, that was amazing. Oh my God, that thing bugled right behind me because he goes, fuck, dude, you shot right past me. And I'm like, I know, you were fine as long as you didn't move. I mean, it's at 20 yards. I'm trying to shoot a quarter. Like, I'm not going to shoot the cameraman in the face as long as he doesn't move. He was probably 4 yards in front of the arrow. So I shot him like,
wow.
And he turned as he's got the camera on me, but as I shot that arrow past him and hit the bull, he turned his head like this because I couldn't, you know, as you often know, you don't know exactly where you hit him.
Yep.
Like, you know where you want to hit him, and he's like, dude, you hammered him, right? So we wait, we give it the cursory, you know, hour.
Did you hear him go tearing off down the hill?
100% heard him go tearing off, breaking shit.
You hear a big crash?
And because he went downhill, no, just because of the terrain, he ran into a drainage where, like, you know, he's clearly going to be down there.
Let's just take it easy, boys. For an hour, we'll go ahead and collect our lunch.
And that's what we did, right? And so an hour later, we go, just walk kind of where he was standing. We don't see any blood. Well, this trail, the dirt is really black and dark, and it's churned up. It almost looks like topsoil. Okay,
this is what fucked Dudley on his recovery too.
Well, I guess we haven't talked about this. So, I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, I know I hammered this thing, but I'm like, we're not gonna find blood. And so, I'm walking down this trail that's just churned up black topsoil, trying to find blood, that's an hour old, that's probably dry. And Tom's behind me, and then Austin's behind all of us filming like he should. And I'm thinking, man, this is gonna be tough. So I'm like, we're just gonna walk to the bottom. He's probably just piled up down there. Can't find any blood. Austin taps me on the shoulder. He's like, bro, pick your head up. I'm like, I look at him, I'm like, what? And he goes, look down the trail. And as I pick my head up, pull my head out of my ass, and look down this trail that's lined with aspen trees, I can see blood for 100 yards sprayed 5 feet up on the left side where I shot him, on the left side, 5 feet up on all these white aspen trees. So I'm like, yes. Like,
that is called the Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah. So we get to the bottom of the drainage where now there's no aspen trees, there's no bull, there's no blood, there's no arrow, there's nothing. So I'm like, okay, he's got to be around here somewhere. 3 hours later, we still have not found anything. And I'm like, where the fuck did this bull go? Like, I know he's dead. There's no doubt in my mind he's dead. We just don't know where he died. So this is the part of the blood trail I always call, like, from that hunt from October, I say they always pull a crazy Ivan. They always do something that you don't think. It's like, bull's hit, he's damaged, he's mortally wounded. He's not going to go uphill. He's going to go downhill. That's not what this bull ended up doing. So I split up. I went the opposite direction I thought the bull would go, which is uphill. And I'm looking in like really dense patches of like pines and stuff just to see if he buried himself in there, because I've heard they'll do that. Nothing. So I'm like, fuck, you know, I better go back and find these guys back down the hill, and, you know, maybe they found something. And as I turn around, I go to step over a log. I look down, and there's a 50-cent piece size drop of blood on the top of this log. And it's still just, it's my bull. I mean, it's just a little bit.
A little tacky.
So I got some flagging tape. I flag it, and I'm like, I'll be able to find this spot again. I'm going to go back downhill, get the guys, and come back up. As well as I go down the hill, I lost them. Then I eventually found them. They found my arrow. They just walking blindly down the drainage. They found my arrow, covered in blood, tip to tail. And as soon as they found my arrow, I'm thinking as soon as the arrow fell out, the bull started bleeding again, just as good as he had initially when we found him. Well, what this bull had done is he'd gone downhill, and then he'd try to go uphill, and he'd make it part way, and he'd go back downhill. And then he'd try to go uphill, and he'd drift back downhill. Well, where I hit that blood, he had come up and didn't make it and went back down.
Was arcing back down.
Right? So it still took probably another hour. That bull eventually cut to the chase. That bull went about 500 yards from where I shot him. He had tried to go uphill multiple times, and he literally died. My guess is he died running because his arms and legs were back. His face was, you could see where he had piled into the dirt and slid, and damn near like he hit a tree.
So he was in full sprint still.
Full sprint when he died. Probably died within seconds, but he covered a hell of a lot of ground in the meantime. And so that recovery, as good as that hit was over 3 hours, probably 4 hours to find that bull.
There's a lot of emotions in those 3-4 hours.
A lot of emotions, dude, because the year before, so you probably don't know this. So the year before, I killed a bull, I like to say in self-defense, because I shot a little bit younger bull than they wanted me to. But the guide, I won't say his name, but the guide, so the year before, we go into this drainage, and it sounds like there's a dinosaur in the bottom of this thing. And it's kind of misty and foggy, and it was super cool. And this, if you didn't know any better what it was, you'd think you were at the gates of hell. And this thing's just fucking going off and breaking shit and bugling. And we couldn't bring him up to us. He wasn't
interested.
He wasn't interested, you know. And so anyways, we're in there, ran into a few other bulls and nothing we wanted to shoot. And we're about ready to leave. And I said, well, I'll say his name, Hiram. and I said, Hiram, I said, fucking just cow call one more time. And just because we hadn't heard, you know, it was kind of late morning, everything had kind of settled down. I said, just see if we get a response. Maybe we'll go down there and see if we can find him. He cow calls, this bull responds back immediately from the bottom. I was like, oh shit, he's still down there. He's like, the thermals aren't right, can't go down there. I'm like, yeah. He puts out another cow call. That fucking bull responds halfway up the mountain.
He's on a rope.
He is on a rope. So now we don't cow call anymore. He's bugling on his own, and it is this hell bull. So there's not a doubt in my mind he's going to be the biggest thing I've ever seen. Right?
Like some fucking 9 by 11 by 11.
Exactly. Like they don't even know this bull exists.
Glowing
like,
red eyes, steam, fire coming out of his nostrils.
Yep. That's exactly what I had in my head.
And a spike rolls up.
Well, he's moving this bull is moving so fast that Hiram, like, he's coming. Like, he's within now 100 yards.
Oh, wow.
And I'm standing on the trail that he's walking on because of just the way the topography was. And in hindsight, we'd have done something different, but you had to make a split-second decision. So Hiram literally just bails into a bush, and he can't see the bull. But I can, and I've already put it in my mind, this is the biggest thing that's ever going to have been shot with a bow and arrow. And that bull comes up, and he's facing me, and he puts his head back, and he's got steam rolling out his nostrils, and he just bugles, dude, at like 25 yards. He just bugles. And I'm on the trail, and I'm just like, if he'll let me come to full draw, I'm going to kill him right there. And his head, his eye got covered up by a pine bough. I came to full draw. Hiram, again, is buried in the bush. So it's not Hiram's fault. And I shot this bull. Well, the bull runs off like they always do. And Hiram's like, holy shit. And I'm like, yeah, I got a good hit. You know, He's like, what is it? And I'm like, fucking big 6x. So we sit there for an hour. Same thing. We go to find the bull. Fucking there's blood. I got no arrow. Fucking no bull. We look all morning. No bull. You know, and some of my guts all in a knot. And I knew he was kind of quartering to me a little bit. Just like actually, it was almost an identical shot to the one that you filmed of me doing and shooting in Montana.
Yep.
No bull. Go back that afternoon. Fucking go down to where he came from and all that. No bull. No bull, no blood, no arrow.
It's hard to describe the emotional roller coaster of
God,
what you're
dude. talking
about. You're like, do I have enough cell service to put my fucking bow on eBay right now?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, not in a very long time, but you know, let's just say bow hunting is an emotional roller coaster, and I've quote quit on several occasions. And this was going to be one of them because, you know, I'm representing my brand. I've got people there that I respect and consider mentors like John. I put a lot of time and effort in. Like, this is what I do. Like, I'm not a fucking hack at this. Like, I think I'm pretty fucking good, actually. And I put a lot of time and effort, and I just fucked up. 100% I just fucked up. So there's nothing to do except that's your bull. So you got to go find him. So the next day we go back there. We went with a guy named Dave. And I'm trying to, you know, because we not only do we want more eyes, we want an unbiased observer as to the situation. So I knew exactly where we were standing. I had flagged where the bull was. So we had that. It wasn't like we were making it up. And I go and I said, Dave, I was right here. Hiram's with us, but I was like, Dave, where I was right here. The bull was right there. 25 yards. I shot him. He ran to the left. He's like, okay, man. So what we're going to do is we'll just fan out 50 meters apart. And we're just going to walk up and down this mountain until we find your bull. I'm like, all right. I mean, I already knew the meat was fucked, you know. So
I hadn't thought about that yet.
Oh, fuck. So that was us assuming he was dead. And I couldn't tell you 100% that I'd killed this bull, but there was a really good chance I killed this bull. Just because it wasn't filmed, so I couldn't like play it back and see, you know, like we did in Montana. And
so helpful to be able to do that.
So I'm like, okay, here's where I shot from, and we could see the flagging tape. I walk up to the flagging tape, and I said, here's where the bull was standing. He's like, okay. And I said, he went to the left. He goes, all right, well, why don't you go to the left? Hiram will stand right here, and I'll go 50 meters to the right, and that'll be our lanes, and we'll start walking. Bro, I literally made it maybe 5 steps. And I said, Dave to this day is like, I don't know how you were so calm. I walked 5 steps and I said, hey, fellas, I was like, my bull's dead right there. And Dave's like, what? And I said, my bull's right here. He's dead. He went, so something happened. I don't know what happened, but he went from where I shot him and had the flagging 40 yards.
Damn.
And was laying in the wide open. So what I think happened is the shot I put on him didn't kill him right away. And Hiram and I waited, but I think when we went and started walking and trying to blood trail, because it was kind of thick and brushy, I think that bull was literally just avoiding us and walking. Like when we walked left, he walked right. When we walked right, he walked left. When we walked around the tree.
And where you found him was just his final resting place.
I think as soon as we walked out of it, because when we went back that evening, the day I shot him, we went back that evening. We didn't go back and look right where I'd shot him because we'd already looked there. So we went to look in the non-obvious places. If I'd have gone back there that night, there was a good chance that when we left from looking at him in the morning,
that bull was probably there.
That bull probably crawled out and tried to make it somewhere and literally died right there. And so now the next year, I put this great hit, what I think is a great hit on a bull, and there's all this blood, and 4 hours later, I can't find this bull. I was about ready to fucking sell that bow on eBay again, right? Because I'm like, listen, if I'm no better than this, these animals deserve better from me. I can't keep doing this, you know? But they do crazy stuff, man. They are tough as hell.
What did Hiram say when he came upon your bull?
So this is the best part. Yeah, thank you. So remember I told you, giant 6x.
Yeah, it's an 11 by 11 bull, first of its kind.
Exactly. And they like to shoot
8 years older.
8 years or older. I shot a 6-year-old 5x5.
Oh, fuck. You needed to have documented their faces when they rolled up on that thing.
And Hiram's like, Dave was cool, right? Because I had told Dave what I shot too. And Hiram's like, yeah, he's not a 6x, huh? And I was like, I'm so sorry, fellas. I said, I'll go talk to Tom. I am absolutely responsible.
Yeah.
Right? Like, my fault, no doubt. And interestingly enough, Tom said, and I mean, obviously he said this because I'm a client, but so it was a 5x5, 6 years old. It was never going to be a 6x6.
Okay. Yeah.
We had actually seen a giant 5x5 several days prior. My point is a lot of not people like me, but like other clients, they don't want to shoot anything but a 6x6. So he's like, well, honestly, he says, if we wanted to take something out of the gene pool, he goes, that was one that we would do. But how that bull was so aggressive, so mean, so loud in the bottom of that valley, he owned that valley. Because we had seen other 6 points, but nobody wanted to fuck with him. Like he was a fighter, man. And when he came up, I didn't even give it a second thought. When he bugled, I'm like, hey, you're dead. Like, I'm just going to shoot you.
Fuck.
So I think that's why let's put it this way. They watched me closely last year to make sure that I wasn't like a loose cannon.
Positive control of the weapon known as John Barklow.
Yeah.
It's fair.
It's fair.
It was an interesting experience.
But the roller coaster, dude, of emotions is.
I felt the pressure of being there as well. Like, I have no professional relationship with Sitka at all. Don't know Jonathan incredibly well, but we got to spend time together. And like the hunting camp, there's Dudley's there, Jocko's there,
yeah,
Rogan's there, Cam is there, fucking
Levi's there,
yeah, Eastwood's there, and then these guys are going out for what in my mind was about 7 seconds. They're like, "Oh, I got a world class bowl," and all these people are just tick 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 tick, shit's hitting the ground, and I'm on day 5 now. I don't know. I'm glad I got the chance to go, but man, feeling that weight as you draw back.
Yeah.
Not the most awesome feeling.
Well, I saw, you showed me the video, or Caleb, whoever filmed it at the time. Like I thought that I was probably happier. I was happier for you than I think you were happier.
Oh, the one yourself. I killed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I just saw it again on the Black Rifle video. And I mean, not that you want to torture yourself to the last end, but that scenario and how that unfolded, like, tell me that wasn't like an epic ending.
The most awesome part about it is after I shot and that thing ran off and it died. 40 yards past. We heard it gurgling.
Mm-hmm.
As we sit down, Caleb was more fired up than anybody. He turned his camera on. He's just like, gents, I'm going to need a few minutes. I mean, I was kind of consumed in what was going on. I was legitimately running through self-defense. Like, what do I was going to jab it in the face.
You were going to have to shoot the bull in self-defense.
I was going to jab it in the face and then dive off the trail so it attacked Caleb because he was directly behind me. But, yeah, and then I knew it was going to see me when I drew. I knew that they were probably going to try to stop it, which they did. And then my only concern was a clear shooting lane, which is why I took the time to actually find one. Because my luck, I can imagine shooting and just seeing flying off.
It made for awesome video, dude.
That
was a good video that those guys put together, but I knew it was coming, like I knew what the ending was.
Yeah.
And it was still awesome to see it again.
Yeah, that was a hell of a trip. I'm incredibly thankful you guys took me out there, but man, you feel that pressure.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe that too. And then the roller coaster of that whole week. They're like, I love bow hunting, and at lunch it's like, I want to take up kite surfing. Like, one more time, I'll go out. And then that evening, you're just like, where's the bottom of this liquor bottle so I can actually make it to bed tonight?
You know, it's not for everybody, but that I think is what makes it so addicting and, you know, makes people commit so much time to doing it right. Like, that bull came 3 to 5 yards from you, I'm guessing?
3 yards when it stopped.
3 yards.
I drew on it when it was facing me
to
at
have
3
a
yards.
mature bull elk come to 3 yards is a pretty epic experience. Right?
Yes.
Yep. And that's why I like to keep trying to do it, you know, but
what hunts do you have for this year?
So my, you know, kind of standard Montana elk and
where are you going to go? Because you drew
antelope.
the 920, right?
Yep.
Where are you going to go?
I'm not sure yet.
I have a general. I'm not sure yet either.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. I mean, I'm good at some things in my life, but all this scouting and stuff they talk about, like, I don't have time to go drive around for a weekend. So I do a lot online, and then I just throw a dart at the map and go. And then I got a South Dakota deer tag. And then, like I said, I drew that Iowa deer tag. So going to be hunting around Dud, and he's got his uncle there. So
yep.
And that takes.
And you guys are going back to Utah too, right?
Right now we are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
are
the
they
plan.
open?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the plan. But yeah, you know, we had some stuff in Canada. We were going to go to Alaska to do some work stuff, and just all that got
canked. Yeah,
it's basically like if you couldn't drive, we weren't going to go do it.
It's such an investment of time and energy and effort and money to go on one of those trips, to get stuck there along the way because travel sucks.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not that we can't deal with that. We've done it before, but why would you want to subject yourself to that if you didn't have to?
Yeah.
You know, was it you talking? No, who was talking? They didn't want to. Oh, it was a gentleman I was talking to at that bar yesterday, but he's wants to go back or needs to go back for his daughter's wedding in New Jersey. And he's like, fuck, do I fly? Do I drive? Like, are we even being able to do it? This
I
is
would
like
do a road
next
trip.
month.
I
That's
would
what
do a
I
road
told
trip.
him. I said, you know what? Just go road trip it. That way you got control. If you need to bail, you bail. Yeah.
Interesting times.
You know, it's one thing to process this as an adult, but I wonder, like, your children, other children, like, this is an interesting world they're growing up in.
In many
you know?
ways.
I mean, and not just with the virus, but, you know, whatever's going on with these riots and stuff. And I always try to put perspective on it and say, you know, in the 60s, did people think this was, you know, the end of the country and, you know, all the craziness, Vietnam War, protests, and everything. It's like different points in time. You know, it's like, I'm not saying it's the end of the world. That's not my point. But it's like, oh, it's the end of the country. Oh, this is the last, you know, America's not going to be a superpower and all this. It's like, how many times in our history have people, citizens probably said that? And then you look back and you're like, yeah, it was a tough time, but look at, you know, we had 20, 30 years. And so
look at
we're
where
in,
we came because of that.
yeah, and a lot of
think it
times
needs
we
to get
come out
close to that.
stronger.
Yeah.
But, you know, 9/11, it's like, oh, World War III, you know, and all this kind of craziness. And so I hope I'm right in that regard. But
Has there been much protesting in Bozeman?
I think they've had some.
There was a little bit here for a little bit of time. Nothing like you're hearing about in
Yeah.
Where's Jules from? She's Portland.
Yeah.
What the actual fuck?
Listen, I don't know a lot about it. But I think I saw on the paper one of the protests in Bozeman, and I laughed because honestly, when a bunch of white 20 and 30 something trust funders in Bozeman are fucking holding up Black Lives Matter, it's just like, shut the fuck up. Like, seriously, like, children, go back home. You know, and
They're
I think
not advancing the cause.
and
I
I think they did it once or twice.
Yeah.
But honestly, I really wouldn't know because I am purposely not paying attention. It's not doing anything right now to benefit my life. I don't know what's right and what's wrong, and I don't really want to take the time to figure it out. I'm not even sure anybody actually knows. Same with the virus. Mask, no mask. It's going to kill everybody. It's not going to kill everybody. Like, this is the first time in my life. I'm not saying I'm tuning out, but this is as close to me being tuned out as I've ever been in my entire life. But right now, it's what I need to keep my sanity.
How do you feel health-wise? Do you feel like the more you tune out, the healthier you are?
Dude, I feel fantastic. Yes, to answer that question, there's a lot of things. Like I said, working from home, not traveling.
Yeah.
Not getting wrapped up emotionally on that bullshit roller coaster. I am a happier person right now because I am not paying attention to that. And so that's the other thing. Once you cut that out, just like booze or flying or anything, all of a sudden you realize you're like, that really wasn't actually benefiting me. That was not a positive in my life. You know, no matter what side of the aisle you're on or what channel you watch, it doesn't matter. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
And
well, it's all also negatively, I don't think biased is the right term. I mean, like negatively edged. And if people actually wrote down, I've done this myself, you know, watch the news for an hour or scroll through a news feed and just make 2 columns, positive versus negative. Holy fuck.
Yep.
It's almost overwhelmingly negatively portrayed information. And that informs, I think, not an expert, obviously, but mental state.
yeah.
If it's negative,
That's all you're seeing
Yeah.
is negative, and it does begin to affect your mental state. But you know what? It's what sells. It's how they, you know, make all those ad dollars. It's what keeps people tuning in. They're emotionally wrapped around the axle. I was that guy. I just realized I need to take a break from it right now because it wasn't helping me. It wasn't benefiting me in any way. And I think that is a big part, not just the physical side, but a big part of why I feel better right now. I feel bad for the country. Like, honest to God, I go to bed every night and fucking pray for this country. But I'm just not going to be wrapped up in it right now. Like, if it gets bad enough, somebody will tell me. And, well, there's a part, Andy, it's like, you're always a citizen in this country, but it's like you and I did our part a little more than most, right? Like just being in the military is it's like, and I'm, out now and I'm 50. It's like, you know what, fellas, like you motherfuckers need to figure this out because a lot of you people don't even know what it is to serve anybody or anything. Like they just don't know. And then I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not even qualified to make that judgment. I'm not going to spend the emotional energy. I'm just not going to stay tuned.
I think you have to find a balance because if you don't stay connected a little bit, devious fuckers will exploit seams in leadership and in attention. There's a fine line, I think.
I 100% agree with you. And so here's the backside of that statement. I feel guilty that I'm not keeping up. And so what I'm trying to figure out now, having taken several months off, is how do I stay informed at some unemotional level, and where do I try to get that information that I know it's all going to be biased in some regard, but
sure.
Where do I go to get what I need to stay
a trustworthy
informed?
Source?
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know if it even exists. So it's like, well, maybe just go back in small doses. But then it's like, where do you do it? How long do you do it? How do you consume it? I don't know what that answer is.
I don't have it either.
I do worry. I can tell you IG's not the place to get it.
I couldn't agree more, and it concerns me. My own father does this. He doesn't have IG, but he will share some shit on Facebook.
Yeah.
Absent fact checking.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I actually, hopefully in the next few months he'll come up and we can do a podcast and I will question him directly of what the fuck are you doing with some of the stuff that you're sharing? And it's not necessarily a difference of opinion, but it's like, hey man, research that a little bit. I mean, I know where he stands politically in his beliefs, and I don't care if people want to post stuff about they believe, but I also think that math matters. I think that hard sciences matter. I think that facts matter. And I think you shouldn't get your news off of Facebook.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do. And I don't say that as a judgment, but it concerns me.
I think it's very concerning. But where do you go to get I mean, I watch one news channel and I realized as much as I like that news channel, I probably should watch the others as well just to see what everybody else is saying. But now that I've taken a break, it's like, where do I go back and what show do I watch to try to get the most unbiased, not that some of it's going to be biased, but the most unbiased
Is there a place
information.
where you can go, one place where you could go to get that unbiased?
I don't know. I don't think so.
So how much time would it take for you to get all the touch points that you need? And the next thing you know, this is just,
and that's what I don't want to get back
correct.
to.
Yeah. I'm trying to find a middle ground as well because I don't want to become consumed by it. I want to manage the volume of negative versus positive information that I consume because it informs my mental state. I don't want to be taken advantage of, but I also don't want to waste a second of my energy on bullshit.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't have the mathematical formula for that one yet, but I'm trying to find it.
Now that I've got some other things going on, like I'm like, wow, I was spending an hour or 2 hours like doing this a day, and now those hours are back in my pocket to do what I want more productively.
Do you have the screen time function on your iPhone?
Yeah.
It can startle you from time to time.
Yeah.
I've
got it on my iPad too.
Yeah, your average screen time this week per day, you're just like, fuck. Multiply that by 7.
In
that's
5
an
minute
entire
bites.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is gnarly. I like your shirt though.
Yeah, thanks, man. I dig this shirt. I definitely dig the cause. People
It's
at work call it
timely-
my monkey shirt. But
Do they really?
yeah, I like your monkey shirt.
Tell them to go online and buy one for $32.
It's a badass logo though.
It is a good logo. It couldn't be more timely of just the stuff we're talking about, societally, culture, news, defund the police.
Defunding the police.
I don't even know how to appropriate. I mean, my thought, I don't know if I could say been incredibly vocal about it, but I have said many times I think it's completely incorrect to defund the police. I am all about oversight. I'm all about transparency. I'm all about having a reasonable budget, but defunding the people who answer 911 calls, not a good idea. And also taking tools away from them. I'm no jiu-jitsu expert. So that shirt, by the way, and it's like partially shameless plug because I created that in an attempt to scholarship law enforcement officers, and I didn't create it by myself. I partnered with Travis and Matt and Keith at SPG, so they can have a place where they can remove the economic barrier. And then you watch things like New York, where they're saying no restraint holds of any time. And I believe it was based on compression, which in 2 years of doing jiu-jitsu, I can tell you right now that they are removing some of the most effective and some of the safest tools that those officers could have. Yep. And in a moment where people are screaming defund the police, I think that should be changed to maybe retrain the police, add addition. I don't know what it is, but defunding them is not the answer. I think at this point in time, that community of people, I think it was Brian Bishop who described them as the stitches that hold the flag together, our society together. They need it's a shitty social optic right now, but they need as much help as they can possibly get.
Yeah. Yeah. The one thing you can't get around is reality. Like, fucking reality's a bitch sometimes, right? And so it's like, you're not going to be able to defund the police. You're not going to be able to get rid of them. Like,
some people are actually trying, though.
Oh, I know. But what social utopian fucking bullshit are you, it doesn't work. It's never worked. I would argue, and you know this as better than anybody, but you've talked about this. Training in real life scenarios allows stress inoculation.
Correct.
Right?
Incremental stress inoculation.
Correct. And so with that in mind, and we know this is true, we know these things happen, be it in warfare or hunting or whatever, like the more exposed, the better training, the more you're thinking through it, you're not going to be reactionary. You're going to be able to stick to the basics and work through the problem, right? Unemotionally. To me, that begs more funding for the police, more training for the police. I mean, I'm not an expert at all on police, but it seems to me like they don't get any fucking training. They barely ever get to shoot their weapon. They barely ever get to, do jiu-jitsu or anything, any kind of training. I think it's probably, my guess is it's not a very healthy way to live, like, because you're dealing
their circadian rhythm is completely
when they need
jacked.
you or an EMT goes people are having some really bad days, and you get all those one after another. I would say, maybe the training needs to be different. Maybe they need to use a lot more less lethal, but I'd say more training would probably help those guys and gals.
I can only speak for here in the Valley, and I'm sure that it's different depending on your department. But the guys and gals, the woman sheriff signed up from the south end of Flathead, and is going to drive easily an hour to pursue the training that she feels that she needs.
Yeah,
they're all doing it in their off time, and they are doing it on their dime as well. And that sucks. I mean, I wish they had the time in their day.
Yeah.
And again, I'm sure there are larger departments that have it as part of their curriculum, but I think they get 2 defensive tactics sessions per year.
Which we all know is not enough.
Which is a couple hours.
Yeah, it's
so
bullshit.
You're not going to probably retain that. And the officers that are trying to better themselves are doing it on their own time and on their own dime.
But unfortunately, everybody can't do that.
Correct. They absolutely cannot do that. And I don't know how to change it. I feel for that community right now. They are getting shit on for sure. Some of it self-deservingly, but for every instance of something that makes the news, there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of interactions with law enforcement that go and they behave exactly in the manner and rise to the level that the citizens that they are there to protect would expect from them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have a solution to it. But I do wish that people would shut the fuck up about defunding the police. And I know that people are going to get twisted at that. No, that's not exactly what it means. But to some people, that is exactly what it means. And to some areas, that's exactly what they're trying to do. And I don't think that's a reasonable approach to make our society any safer.
No, well, again, like I said, I'm not keeping up. But I can tell you for a fact that is not a long-term solution. No. Putting the inmates in charge of the asylum is not the solution. Like, I was brought into court. I was for a jury. This is years ago.
Please tell me you made the jury.
No, I didn't.
Damn it.
I said the right things to get off. But anyways, the case was about a kid actually walked out of a bar, saw the cop car was unlocked, got in the car and went for a joyride.
Was there alcohol involved?
Oh, of course.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
But anyways, when the
kind of decision-making matrix the young man was working himself through.
Yeah, when the lawyer was, kind of down selecting the jury, and she asked me, she goes, do you respect law enforcement? And I said, yes, ma'am, I do. And she goes, would you put more credence on what a law enforcement officer says over, say, a private citizen? And I said, well, I mean, maybe.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, and she said, well, why? Now, she knew I was in the military, and she says, well, why do you say that? And I said, well, if I had to pick a private citizen and somebody, say, in the military or law enforcement, I said, those people have gone through at least a vetting process. Now, you may not agree with the vetting process, but they have gone through a vetting process to get where they are. And we as a society have decided that if these people go through the vetting process, that we then give them authority and a weapon to go and exercise and protect us. I said, whatever kid you're talking about, I don't know if he's ever been through a vetting process. He could be a great guy. He might not be a great guy. But I said, if at a certain point, if we don't as a society trust that these are the people that we are allowing to protect us, we're fucked. Like, everything's lost.
And in certain situations,
that's not the answer she wanted.
Really?
Because she's defending the kid. And basically it was like, well, this police officer said this, and we don't believe him. And she goes, would you believe him or the kid? And I said, well, if you're going to make me answer that, I'm going to believe him, and here's why. In
that situation, yeah, I'm going to believe the officer. In those officers, they also have experience that makes them much more able to explain certain situations. If you have a citizen and a cop side by side and they watch a shooting unfold,
yeah,
and the citizen has never been around guns or gunfire, the two narratives that you're going to get, one is going to be like, oh my, well, I'm making an assumption obviously, but one would probably be more driven by the emotional reaction to the event, where the officer could probably identify the weapons, so yeah, in certain situations, yes, I'm going to take the word of a law enforcement officer highly over the word of a citizen. But depending on the question and the experience level as well. Yeah,
yep.
That's a reasonable answer, I would say.
I'd say anybody who's gone through, even in the military, like, there's people in our society that we give authority to and trust. And, obviously they're human beings, so you hope that they exercise that authority well, but they've at least gone through a process to get where they are. Hey, nobody knows this. Actually, you don't even. But I thought for a time maybe I was going to be a police officer, and I actually went and took the test in Anchorage, Alaska at the time, right? And I didn't make it. I didn't make the cut. And they were looking for somebody different, right?
Was this when you were working in Kodiak?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank God I didn't ever get that job. But my point is, it's like, but the people that make it through the process, they're looking for somebody, something specific, and we give them that authority. And it's like, yeah, we have to have some trust there that they're going to exercise it well and do what they need to. And if they don't, obviously you hammer them, right? But you have somebody here who's vetted and somebody here who's not, of course. I mean, I was raised to respect authority. Obviously, we were in the military, respect rank, all that kind of stuff. A lot of that, I don't know if people really believe that anymore.
It's a mixed bag. I think some people are actually, I hope this isn't true, but my suspicion that some people are actually being raised to resist authority and to not show respect to those certain individuals. And that, to me, is a long-term recipe for utter disaster.
Yeah. So what does society turn into if that is the ingredients that
Planet of the Apes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could play out some crazy scenarios in your head, right? But, yeah, you want to defund the police, and you also want to take people out of jail because they could get COVID. It's like, what's going on, man? Like,
I don't know.
I don't know either, which is
no
why
answers.
I decided I need to take a break from. I can't take a break from life, but I had to take a break from.
Yeah. What's next for you?
As far as
What's the next year? What do you got goal wise, personally and Sitka? What's Sitka's goal for the next year?
Yeah, I mean the business is going well. Yeah, I'm be 6 years. I think I've been doing it. It's an interesting job. I don't want to go down too far of a rabbit hole, but it's an interesting job. I was telling a guy this the other day I work with. I said, when you're involved with product, and you you develop a product and you bring it to life and you commercialize it. I mean, a lot of people may not know who makes like this microphone, but in my job, like I've been kind of out front of some of that stuff, so people know who that is. It takes some guts to develop something and then throw it out there in the world into the court of public opinion.
To be consumed.
Exactly, because not everybody's going to like it, and you just have to understand that. You can't take it personally, So anyways, but I can't tell you everything we've done, but fall 21's already done. Fall 22 is halfway done, and got some really great stuff coming out. I think there are going to be some home runs, but it takes a lot of time and effort and some luck and a little bit of balls to figure out what the next thing is, and to keep figuring out what that next thing is and what that next thing is.
Year after year.
And the brand I work for, we're very conscious that we don't want to make shit just to make it. Like, we want to make stuff that really solves problems, and if it doesn't, or we can't do it in a meaningful way, then we're just not going to do it. Well, fuck, it's a pretty tall order. So I'm always thinking about that stuff. Like, I like my job enough that it's not, I don't turn it off when I get home. In this case, work and home are the same. So I'm always looking at that. I'm always trying new stuff. Like, people think as I work there, I have all the new stuff. It's like, I actually don't have a lot of new stuff. I got a lot of prototype stuff. I got shit that, shouldn't be on camera, and stuff like that. What
percentage of the prototypes do you think make it to market?
For us?
Yeah.
Pretty good percentage. I'd say, at least 90%.
Oh, wow.
If it's not going to make it, it gets killed pretty quick, And it's not because it's not a great idea. Products are, killed, so to speak, for a lot of reasons. You can't get the right costing, or, maybe it's just not a good idea, or maybe the technology isn't, meaningful enough. I mean, I've said this on some other podcasts years ago, but I'm like, I've made stuff that the world just wasn't ready for yet. And what I mean by that is either the technology is so advanced that it's too big a leap from where we are to where we want to go.
Yeah.
Or it costs too much, and to try to convince people that it's worth the cost, they're just not ready for it yet,
That makes sense.
So that's the professional side. On the personal side, it's this IG thing. I mean, I've committed. I know I said I can stop it tomorrow, and I'm sticking to that. But
you shouldn't, though.
No. But so I've said to myself, I want to commit to a year, and I really want to get good at it. I'm not gonna. I don't want to half-ass anything, and I'll tell you, I feel like I'm half-assing it a little bit right now. And what I mean by that is, I'm not as good at doing this as I want to be. Like, I probably need a video camera, like you said. So, you and I talked. Well, yeah. We text, and I asked you about websites. So, I actually got on one of the platforms, and I started building a website. And holy shit, like, that alone has been a journey that I never saw myself going down. And
how close to you are you to finishing it?
Well, I'll get there in a minute. It depends on the day you ask me. So right now I'll tell you it's not close, right? But I was just, oh my God, if somebody was filming, it would have been hilarious, But one Sunday morning, I woke up at like 6 a.m, or 5:30, whatever, and I said, I'm going to go sit in my office, and I'm not coming out of there until I have, when I say a website, but basically like 3 or 4 pages built that looks like what I want it to look like, at least to start. And I did. Like 8 hours later, I walk out of there and I'm like, shit, at least I did something. But the more I learn, the more I realize, well, maybe it's not exact. Like George.
Jacques.
Yep.
Jacques Carr.
Yep. He gave me the advice. He's like, you should have that, because I want to either post videos or, a link to this podcast. And I've got, like I said, I wrote a book. I mean, I hate to say that. I just don't know any other way to say it, but I've got a lot of content, and I've got a lot of articles I've written that I've posted on my website that's not live, so nobody go look for it because you're not going to be able to get anywhere. I want to devote a year to this, though, and I want to do it the right way. And so Preston actually is helping me, I think, take it to the level that I really want to take it to.
Yeah.
And then we'll see. But I'll tell you, I'm enjoying the journey. I'm enjoying the struggle. People seem to appreciate the information, so that makes me feel good.
The information is fucking awesome.
Yeah, and so I think I have a unique perspective. I think I have not just the perspective, but the job I had to get that perspective and experience. It's not, you don't find it very often. And so I'm like, listen, if the world finds value in it, then I'll keep doing it. And if they don't, then that's okay, and I'll stop doing it. But right now, I like it. They like it. I'm going to try to do it and make it better, and see where it goes. And just really not put any expectations or limitations on me. And I never, dude, 6 months ago, we wouldn't have had this conversation. I'd have been like, what are you talking about? Like, I'll take the cat picture down and put another cat picture up. And
6 months ago, I wouldn't have had a conversation about having a studio either.
So isn't life interesting that way?
Yeah.
And I think that if you're open to opportunities like that, it can be pretty interesting life,
As long as you are willing to action them and be okay with your first iteration
Yep.
not being what your last iteration will be.
Yep.
Or, I mean, my advice to you would be go into it with the idea that it will be malleable over time.
Yeah.
Much just like the podcast. I remember the first setup I had for the podcast was like a rigid mic stand with a pop screen filter in front of it and a little zoom, which became 2, which became the portable kit, which became different recording devices, which became 1 camera, which became 3, which became a website, which then became a YouTube channel. And none of those things, if my first website or snap at it, if I had stopped there and not approached it as being malleable, we would not be sitting here today.
Yeah.
So just don't put an end state on it either.
And how long have you been doing this? It's not, I
2
want to
years?
say 2 years.
Yeah, 2.5 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing,
And it's one step at a time. One incremental step at a time, most of the time based off of, quite frankly, other people's suggestions. Hey, you should film the podcast. I want to watch it. Like, well, what's the camera cost? Okay, that's actually reasonable.
Yeah.
What does YouTube channel cost? Oh, shit, nothing. Reasonable. That for you, I think your content and the duration of your content, I think that's something you should look at too.
Yeah, some other people have said that. Like I said, I don't know anything about it.
I didn't know anything about it when I started a podcast.
I'm going to look into it. I mean, these guys were talking to me the other day, 2 days ago, about, do you have such and such to like edit your videos? And I'm like, no, but I think I should get that now. Right. So it just slowly builds.
Yeah. Just be open to the change.
And I am. And honestly, it's a little bit odd for me to be that way, but I'm enjoying it. And so you say it a little bit different, but I like to say, eat the elephant in small bites. So if I thought about the whole thing, like the website as an example, I was like, listen, the world doesn't know.
Don't do that.
The world doesn't know that it sucks. I'm the only one that can see it right now. So I'm like, don't be afraid to try shit and just build it and see what happens. And if you need help, ask.
And the thing about websites, that shit can be reskinned in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't, stop putting barriers in front of your way. Unfuck yourself, Barklow.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to do.
Good.
And try not to put barriers. So to kind of circle back to where we started, the last 3 months, 4 months, whatever it's been it's been a good life change for me.
Same.
Yeah. So I hope the economy goes back and people stop getting sick.
Same.
Of course. But I don't want to go back to my old normal. Like, I'm liking some of this new normal.
I don't think I'm going to. I'm going to force myself not to. Even if everything were to turn back on, I think at the end of this, at the very least, what I have is a different optic to view the decisions that I'm going to make.
Yeah.
And I'm going to value my time more. And I just don't want to travel as much.
It is such a rare and unique thing that's happening. And like I said, it's not a great thing, but try to make the best of it. And this perspective that we will have in our lives, if we don't try to use it to better ourselves in whatever capacity you and I are talking, how we're doing it, other people have to figure it out for themselves, then you're really wasting a once-in-a-lifetime thing, I hope, right? And it hit me at the right time, and I'm trying to just take advantage of it.
It's a very good perspective, I think, and because that puts you in control as well.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are focusing on things that are outside of their control, which is a waste of your mental horsepower, energy.
We know you can't. You can't. I mean, that's how people get overwhelmed, and just end up doing, either not making it through a block of training or jumping off a building. And it's just like, you don't need to do that. Just one step at a time, and you've talked about that quite a bit.
It works. You ready to
it does work.
Take one step at a time and go get lunch?
Yeah, sounds good, man.
All right. Let's go. Thank you again to HelloFresh for supporting this episode of Cleared Hot. Go to HelloFresh.com/80ClearedHot and use the code 80ClearedHot to get a total of $80 off, including free shipping on your first box. Additional restrictions apply. Please visit HelloFresh.com for more details. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all I have for this week. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you for taking the time and energy to seek out the podcast and listen to it. If you have feedback, please send it. If you have questions, please send it. And then all that I could ask is you do one of two things. If you like the podcast, do me a favor, tell somebody about it. And if you like it enough to take the time to go to Apple Podcasts, go on there and give me a rating and a review. And that is it for this week. See you on Friday for some rapid fire Q&A.